The following is a presentation of FNX Network, fnx.network. On this episode of Casual Mode, we've got the Major League Pokemon World Cup number 2 coming up, and we've got some interviews to go along with that. Fallout from the Elimination Chamber, FIFA sucks, an inordinate amount of video game news and updates, and of course silly news and dumb tweets. It's episode 17 of Casual Mode, and it starts right now. It's Casual Mode with Jeremy and David, episode 17 for June 8th, 2015. Drops the Asparagus! Hello everybody and welcome to Casual Mode, the podcast for geeks of all trades and masters of none. I'm your host Jeremy, and with me as always is my tag team partner, my little brother by spirit, my best friend, and the Tony Stark to my Steve Rogers, David. How are you today?
Alright, I'm just looking at tea. Hang on.
Okay, well, while he's doing that, we'd like to thank you all for joining us. This is our 17th episode, which we continue tallying up my mark of longest things that I personally have ever done.
There we go. That's something here. My God, that thing was more stubborn than the Duggar family.
Oh, zing.
Oh, right, Jeremy. I forgot. I had to mention this because I was saying this because I got a lot of crap about this last week. Last week, apparently a lot of geeks were very, very insulted and offended by my comment saying that if, in fact, that Turkish guy was correct and masturbating would lead you to be pregnant with your hand, that all the geeks would be perfect candidates for 19 kids and counting. I want to make the statement now that, in fact, I meant to offend. And if I have not offended you, then I apologize. I will try harder next time.
Speaking of things that might possibly be offensive to people, Windows 10 finally has its release date. It's going to be coming out on July the 29th, and some of you out there may have noticed that there's this little teeny icon over in your little system tray that looks like, you know, the Windows logo, the askew window.
I just clicked it.
Yeah, where it will ask you to, quote-unquote, reserve your free upgrade. What that basically is when you go into it, run through it, and put in your email address, they will let you know when it is time to finally download.
So I just click the reserve your free upgrade button, right?
Yeah, you click that, run through that, and it is not anything bad. Now, if there is anything out there that asks you to download something now, that is bad mojo. Do not do that. If there's anything out there that asks you to download something separately to prepare your system for Windows 10, don't do it.
Yes, I also want to receive the latest Windows news, tips, and offers from Microsoft.
Well, see, now that's okay. Because that just, when you put your email address, if you want, you can get information directly from Microsoft sent to your email. But if there's anything out there that says you need to download this in order to prepare your system for Windows 10, and you've already got the icon that we mentioned on there, don't download that thing. That icon is fine. That other thing is not.
Yep, it says they will prepare a copy of Windows 10 for me, so I am all set, Jeremy.
Yeah. Now, of course, if you are some of the more tech-savvy people like ourselves, you probably already have noticed this, but you may decide, I don't want to reserve it quite yet. I kind of want to wait for a week or two for them to get the bugs out, and that's okay. You don't have to go through that. You can look up online ways to remove that. Like I said, I only recommend it for the more technically inclined people, because if somebody who doesn't know what they're doing tries to do it, there's a very real chance they could probably fuck something up royally.
And if you are using a Windows 8 computer, and in fact do not want the Windows 10 download right now, I want to say, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Funny, actually, Nash on his show the week before this actually did also talk about this. So nice.
A little harsh.
Nice synergy there. So
Well, it's I don't watch much of anything these days, but yeah, cool.
Of course, before we get into the show proper, where we're going to have a lot to talk about in the video games session, because there was quite a bit of news that came out this past week. We would like to let you know that there are multiple different ways that you can get a hold of us to let us know what you like about the show, let us know what we could be doing better. As long as you're nice, we're not going to do anything bad to you.
And if you're not nice, then I'll just redirect you to all my friends, and they can... What? I know people who know people who know people. Fine. CasualModePodcast.com, one site, everything. Facebook.com/CasualModePodcast. We're on SoundCloud, we're on iTunes, we are on Twitter. I am at ZeroSageHarpoya.
I'm at Shadowbird712.
And yes, I actually check my Twitter, everyone.
Yep.
Did I say SoundCloud? Yes. StumbleUpon and Instagram. I don't know. I still don't have the thing up yet. Don't judge me.
Also, we would like to let you know that this is the last week to take part in our subscriber giveaway. So if you're not already subscribed to YouTube, shared videos, liked us on Facebook and whatever for that, one more week, and then we will pull the name to get the $20 gift card or eShop card, depending. So
yeah, it should be cool. Yeah, one more week, guys. And I will be rolling that dice. Yes, I have not named the 5 names from last week, but it seems like I didn't get any response from the others anyway, so I'm just going to randomize all the numbers of the finalists. So good luck to everybody, and we will find out who wins.
All right. So, with that in mind, with all the formalities out of the way, let's start talking video games, shall we?
All right.
Among other things. Alright, it's time to talk games. And of course, we're going to start with what we're playing. I've got some new things to add, but of course, we start off with David first.
Pokemon.
I was going to say, so not much then, huh?
Well, I also played a game on Congregate, and I played my old favorite game on it, Gemcraft Labyrinth. Love that game.
I do have some new notables to add, aside from all the usual things, Fire Emblem, Pokemon Shuffle, etc., etc., etc. I started a part of a Thursday night D&D 5e session this past week, and in fact, we're going to have the link because one of the people I was playing with actually streamed this. So we have a video of the session that we are going to have in a link in the show notes for you. And it was a really, really interesting session, mostly because I was playing as a rogue with a noble background, which is, I know, something you wouldn't expect a rogue to have. And unfortunately, due to some bad rolls, my rogue failed to rogue.
Oh.
But, it's D&D. What you going to do? You can do one or two things when your character doesn't succeed at what it's specifically built to do. You can either get mad and throw a fit, or you can, no pun intended, roll with it. In my case, I opted to roll with it. And in fact, it actually led to a pretty funny moment where keep in mind, noble Lady Eladrin, in just, nondescript clothing, because she's a robe, one of the other player characters, in order to ostensibly save their lives to make sure that they didn't get killed when they got caught sneaking around in this camp, claimed her as his courtesan. And the subsequent bluff check was wildly successful.
Okay.
pretty much the only person who didn't believe this lie was him and my character. So yeah, a rogue who is nobility, in order to have her life saved, was forcibly confused for a courtesan. And if you don't know what the word courtesan means, m-w.com. Merriam-Webster Online, motherfucker.
I'll do it after this recording.
Yeah. The other notable game that I played is one I've actually seen some people play and review online, particularly one that I've been a Patreon sponsor of in the past, the Smarty, spelled T-E-H, Agar.io. What it is it's a very, very simple multiplayer browser-based game. It's also going to be coming on Steam. It's on Steam Greenlight right now. It's free to play, and it's a very, very simple game. You just move this little dot, which is like some kind of unicellular creature, and just move around this map, dodging other people who are also moving around this map. Nom on little pellets, maybe nom on other people, and grow bigger and bigger and bigger. You can split yourself in two to kind of gang up and consume smaller people. You can shoot some of your mass out to other people to kind of see how they're playing, if they're playing nice or if they're just out to nom you. In fact, one of the other people that did a review is someone who's not really known for MMO reviews. He goes by Tiger, Tyger, on YouTube. He does the Mud to MMO series, which is basically just talks about various different topics related to MMO games and people in general. Very interesting series. I recommend you check him out. He is on Channel Awesome now. I usually just follow him right on YouTube myself. He's also a really nice guy. I've gotten to talk with him a bit on Twitter because he does 5K hikes and races as well, and some of them for charity. But he actually did a review of this game, and part of what struck him about it was that because it's so simple, it still ends up kind of being complex in its simplicity, for lack of a better phrase, because there is no real object to the game. Your object is what you make of it. I mean, you can shoot for being the biggest one and be on the leaderboard at 10. You can shoot for helping out other people by helping other people grow. Or you can just be like a pure survival and just trying to, zip around everybody and not hurt anybody and just get as big as you can by yourself without, trying to nom on people. It's a very free-form and kind of meditative game, for lack of a better phrase. It's a really interesting game. Again, Agar.io. Check it out sometime, y'all. New releases... Cool. Yeah, new releases for this week. As mentioned last week, June's kind of light, relatively, but we do have some interesting ones coming out within this next week. The Elder Scrolls Online, of course, from the same universe that spawned Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim. This is their attempt at an MMO. It has recently gone free to play, and it will be coming to Xbox One and PS4 on the 9th. Released actually on June the 1st during a micro Nintendo Direct, Dr. Mario Miracle Cure. It is basically a sequel to Dr. Mario from way back when. Kind of a updated game of it. Of course, it's got the classic classic Dr. Mario gameplay, but it's also got some additional little special pieces for new wrinkles on the classic gameplay. That's going to be coming out for the 3DS on June 11th. And then, because the movie Jurassic World is out, as night follows the day, so a LEGO video game adaptation follows this movie. LEGO Jurassic World will be out for Xbox One, 360, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, Wii U, Wii, 3DS, Vita, and PC on June the 12th. And last...
A lot of consoles, sorry.
And last but not least, on the day after this one comes out, will be Payday 2, the Crime Wave Edition, basically the high-def remaster of that game for Xbox One and PS4 on the 16th. So that's your new releases for the week. Not a new release, but something very, very interesting that we want to let you know about. Major League Pokemon's World Cup 2 has started.
Yep, and dare I say it, I really don't know who's going to win this one. A total of 48 people have entered this tournament, and Jeremy, you're one of them.
Yes, and if you want to, we'll have the link to the standings as they're updated. Of course, you'll also have full coverage here on Casual Mode, so you'll get to hear firsthand just how terribly I do. And also,
by next week, you will have a pretty good idea at who will be moving on to the second round. Jeremy hoping to reach that second round.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, one thing that kind of works to my disadvantage is that aside from being in a pool with a name some of you may know from the Major League Pokemon Elite Four series coverage, Wayne Tremnell, I'm also in the running against someone with a name very reminiscent of a certain cartoon dog by a show from Seth MacFarlane.
So you saw that too, then?
Yeah. If you want to support my run through the Major League Pokemon World Cup, I would encourage you to use the hashtag, and I am not kidding when I say this, hashtag last or bust. Because that is what I'm shooting for. Last place, you know, because I thoroughly expect I am going to get trounced.
I think you'll be surprised, you know? I mean, you just got to finish in the top 3 to get an automatic slot in, and then, even then, you just have to get in the top 8 of those that don't get an automatic spot, so basically 4th place. But yeah, Jeremy Kyle is in the Heartland North. Some other notable Major League Pokemon trainers, Alex Carbo, the former Major League Pokemon champion in the Pacific Group Rockies. Some others, giving a shout out to Alan DeLong, aka the Hobo King. Hey Alan, squirrel! He's in the Pacific Group Coast. Autumn Alicia Figueroa is also in the Pacific Group Coast. Maggie Roy, she was on the show with us, my fiance, will be in the Heartland South. Eric Thomas, some of you might know him better as Champion Red or Pimping Quagsire, or Poliwhirl Thomas, is in the Caribbean Group West. Some other notable people, Jason Pennyworth and Justin Salidi, both are in the Caribbean Group East. Alex Cohen, the current Major League Pokemon champion, well, I should say now Zircon Region champion, is in the Atlantic Group Continental. And it looks like for the Atlantic Group Eurasian, Patrick Ilg is in there, Melanie Sen, Charles Ortiz of NBA fame, Isabel Brundell and yeah, quite a bunch of names there. A lot of very international is the Atlantic Group. So yeah, I like the tournament. This is looking very good. I cannot wait to see who advances on to the second round, Jeremy. And after the second round, ready your brackets, folks. We will have the round of 16, and it will be a single elimination tournament to determine the champion.
Yep, they're doing it FIFA World Cup style, except with far less corruption and not being played on AstroTurf. So,
Yeah, yeah. I was going to ask too. You like that? You like that style there, Jeremy? I mean, the whole FIFA style that I'm throwing in there instead of the Swiss
Yeah,
format.
I like the
Same
pool. I
tournaments?
like the pool play. I like watching that when you watch. I like watching the World Cup. I just don't like FIFA, but that's for later on.
Yeah. And by the way, a hell of a lot of Alexes. It's probably, just have to mention we got Aqua Alex, Alex Carbo, Alex Cohen.
All right, we had a lot of announcements this past week. While we don't have a release date for this, it has been officially announced that Bethesda is working on Fallout 4.
Ooh.
Yes, so those of you who played any of the Fallout games in the series, particularly either Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas, this one's going to be right up your alley. Personally, I've never gotten to play 3 or New Vegas. I did try to play 1 or 2. I didn't really like those styles. Maybe I would like the style of 3 and New Vegas more. I don't know. And this would be more akin to 3 in New Vegas anyway. But just so you know, Fallout heads, there is another game on the way. Of course, if you're a real Fallout head, by the time this podcast comes out, you already know. Also, of particular interest to me is the fact that the fine folks at 2K Games are going to be working on 2K and Firaxis are going to be working on XCOM 2.
Ooh.
Despite the fact that there's been like 6 XCOM games, but that aside, it is the sequel to Enemy Unknown / Enemy Within, which I personally have owned, played, enjoyed. It's not a very forgiving game series, but it is a very fun series, and the again, Enemy Unknown and Enemy Within definitely took the old formula, reworked it in a modern sense, and made it so much fun. For reference, I've tried to play the XCOM DOS games. Did not like the DOS games. But the PC version of the more recent one, I freaking love. So I personally am looking forward to XCOM 2 and see what they do with it. Hopefully, when it finally comes out, they drop the 2 and put a subtitle in it so that the name actually makes goddamn sense. For those of us who have Smash Brothers, some great freaking news. Of course, this won't happen for another week, but we'll be recording another show before then. The long-awaited Lucas DLC, Lucas from Mother 3 for Smash 4, will be available for purchase on the 14th of June. So, no idea if they'll have some free distributions for people who were formerly a part of Club Nintendo. I highly doubt it. But even so, for those of us who have been fans of Earthbound or the other Mother games, Earthbound 0 / the first Mother, and Mother 3, both of which were never released officially in English. And we've had to use less than kosher methods in order to play those. Our favorite other young boy hero returning from Brawl in Smash on the 14th. In other Nintendo news, on the past Micro Direct, we also had the event locations for the Mario Maker event that they're having around the time of E3 on the 17th and the 20th, finally announced. There's a website that we will link to in the show notes where you can go and find those. And of interesting note to me is that one of the locations, at least as far as I know, the only location that they have in Oklahoma, is the exact same Best Buy where your humble host went and got his copy of Smash Bros. 3DS when went to Smash Fest last year. So, if at all possible, I'm going to see if I can go there. I'm not betting on it by any stretch of the imagination, but if it is at all possible that I can take the day, head up there, go up there, you bet your ass I'm going to be getting pictures and maybe even do a little bit of a vlog thing from there. I'm not going to make any promises because, well, my resources are not what they once were, but if I can, I will. And at some point when you've got a chance, David, you might also check on there, see if there's one near you.
All right. I do know that I'm trying to find an expo that I could go to representing casual mode. Actually, my boss had given me a really good idea. There's a Southern Fried Gaming Expo that's in town, but they're mostly on like old style games like Pinball and Pac-Man. Those kind of arcade games.
Retro games?
Yeah, retro games. And it would actually be kind of fun to look at. But I'd like my first actual convention in doing that would be a little bit cheaper, for one, if I can find it. And two, something a little bit more related to what we do. Although I definitely would not mind playing around a centipede. No, not human centipede.
Yeah, I figured as much. So yeah, go to that link right there, e3.nintendo.com/Nintendo-access-locations, or just click the link from the show notes. We'll have the link to the Google Doc for you. And search around your area. I believe you can search up to a 100-mile radius from your zip code of choice and be able to find where the Mario Maker event is going to be, so that you can go get a preview of Mario Maker and just have fun with your fellow Nintendo fanatics.
Oh, there's one near Alpharetta. Well, that ain't too far.
I was going to say, that's around the Atlanta neighborhood. You know how I know this? Because that's Alton Brown's neighborhood.
Oh, it's about 12 miles away.
Yeah, I think last year when I went, they also had it on 2 separate days, and I went on the 20th.
Speaking of, I do want to announce one thing before we go to break. I've officially bought a PlayStation 3! Woo-hoo! Yes, I'm that far behind. And no, I'm not getting a PlayStation 4. I barely have any money as it is right now.
Yeah. And also, I do have one thing. I believe I talked about this game that I was watching Let's Plays of Rust. I believe I mentioned that last week. I would like to give some updates, some more information on it, since I have found more information.
Okay.
It is available on Steam under Early Access for $19.99. Now, of course, even from this Let's Play, it's apparent there are still bugs in the system. It is Early Access, so caveat emptor. Early Access has bitten people before. Just if you want to go ahead and pay the $20 for it in Early Access, it looks fun enough that it might be worth your money. But if you've been bitten by Early Access games before, or if you don't like basically paying for a beta build, then don't get it just yet. Wait for the official release. But
yeah, I would recommend waiting for the official release. Paying for a beta build? Seriously? What kind of shit is that?
But if you do want to go ahead and play the game now, if you, like me, have seen these playthroughs and just feel like, for lack of a better phrase, farting around in the wilderness with not but your dock hanging out, then by all means, $20 on Steam. So
we make great endorsements for these games, don't we? Yeah, kind of good, not sure. Try buying it.
Well, I have to say that about the Steam Early Access thing, because actually that's a pretty interesting topic in and of itself. Steam Early Access is kind of an interesting thing in which, you can have, where you can have basically people, again, beta test yours without having to do kind of an open beta test for games that normally wouldn't have such things. Yeah, the fact that you're basically paying for a beta is kind of off-putting in some cases. Especially when you get in the case of some games. I'm trying to remember. One of them is like Starbase DF9 or something like that, where it went on early access, and there were people who bought it and was doing bug reports and stuff. And then it got fully released in the same state that the last beta was.
Ouch.
And a lot of people got burned by that. A lot of people got really mad about that, especially at Double Fine Studios, which is Tim Schafer's game studio. They also do... God, what is that name that went on? What is that game that went on? Broken Age. They did the Kickstarter for Broken Age that kind of had some people up in arms because they did this big Kickstarter, and then it turned out that the Kickstarter only ended up being for like part 1 of an episodic game, and they needed to do another one for part 2. And Double Fine, they've made some good games like Psychonauts, and by all accounts, Broken Age actually was episode 1 actually was pretty good, but some of their business practices kind of got some people, kind of bit some people in the wrong way. So, Double Fine, they're kind of on this weird Schrodinger ground of hated and not hated. And the waveform has yet to ultimately collapse into EA level or Nintendo level. Or Nintendo level where we realize that they've got their problems, but we still love them anyway. Yeah, they're kind of Schrodinger's heat, for lack of a better phrase. That's quantum physics joke. I just made a joke that probably went over most of our audience's head.
It went over my head. Well, I don't do quantum physics. I'm a chemistry guy. Technically, I'm a math and engineering guy, but you get what I mean.
I'm a cosmology geek. What can I say? I mean, I love astronomy and astrophysics. And
I like astronomy. Astrophysics, on the other hand...
There's a very good reason why I absolutely friggin' loved watching Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and not just because they took shots fired at the young Earth crowd either, but let's not get into that. That's our video game segment for today. I'm going to stop that before I get into a big old political scientific rant there.
Well, if you won't get onto it, then I will. Did we get cut again?
Yes, I think we did. We would like to start out this section by just reminding everybody that FIFA sucks.
Yeah.
FIFA sucks, and for those of us who who like the World Cup but not FIFA, there has been some much needed Schadenfreude come down recently from, of all places, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Yes, that's right. The country that cares the least about international football is the one that is taking on its biggest association and winning! I am not making that up. The FBI has been investigating FIFA on charges of bribery and corruption, for, among other things, how the governing body awarded World Cup hosting rights to the countries of Russia in 2018 and Qatar, Qatar, in 2022.
Qatar.
Qatar.
I've heard it either way. I've heard it both ways.
In addition to this, FIFA's also been getting an inordinate amount of shit because part of what's been going on, at least specifically during the construction of the venues for the Qatar World Cup, is that they have been basically employing slave labor. They have gotten people, including from places like Nepal. There was a E60 special on this, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
From places like Nepal, take them away from their family and work them to the bone to build these stadiums that they are going to need for the World Cup. And keep in mind, Qatar is an Arabian Peninsula nation.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, they actually killed 1,000 people already doing this, and they're looking to kill could be another 3,000 to 4,000.
Yeah, they are working in some of the worst conditions possible. It is insanely hot in Qatar. I mean, you take the hottest temperatures on record that we have ever had in the United States. Now, think of having that temperature basically on a regular basis.
Not really. I was told that they are, quote unquote, only a little hotter than Death Valley.
Okay, the hottest temperature ever recorded was in Death Valley, in the United States, was in Death Valley.
Right.
It was 134 degrees, if I remember correctly. I may be wrong, but somewhere in the neighborhood of 130.
Yeah, and by the way, it does get to the high 120s there on a very regular basis. Matter of fact, I think last year they broke 131.
Heck, I felt 120 degree heat because it's happened in Oklahoma before. That is not weather you want to be out in, even if you're not doing something as strenuous as building a fucking stadium.
Vegas has hit 120 before. I mean, I know that McCarran's official record high is 118, I think, 117. But there were places in Vegas that were 121, 122, 123. So, yeah, it's hot. You don't want to deal with it. Your skin feels like it is boiling hot. I can't even stand the shower water any hotter than 105 degrees. And a lot of people think I'm crazy, that's crazy hot as it is. Imagine 120 degrees, Jeremy. Ooh.
Yeah. And of course, FIFA is, at least as far as Qatar has been going, has been trying to claim that it's racism against Qatar, instead of it being because more than 1,000 people have died so far, and probably about another 2,000 are likely to die before the stadiums are done. But no, to FIFA, it can't be about the fact that they're employing slave labor in absolutely inhuman conditions for anyone to work in. No, it's about race. And I won't deny that Islamic people and Arab people are the subject of racism. In this particular instance, racism is not a thing. I'm pretty sure it's
entirely are the subject of racism in our country and maybe parts of Europe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I don't think that's the motivation for this investigation. I honestly think the motivation for this investigation is, like I said, that aforementioned E60 piece where they talked to people from Nepal who are basically taken away from their homes, not allowed to go home to see their families, to work, build a stadium, and possibly die of heat exhaustion.
I don't know what the hell that these guys were thinking. Like, did the people in Qatar actually just drag these Nepalese people into Qatar to work these stadiums, or do they actually voluntarily come down?
The thing is they supposedly are trying to bring them in for, an opportunity to build a better life for them and their family. And then they shunt these people into basically slave labor camps where they're stuffed into not that great living conditions with a bunch of other people who have been told the exact same lie, then sent out to work for an insane amount of time during the day, including during the mid of the day where it gets at its hottest, temperatures well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And if they're lucky, they get to go back to those camps with those people, those terrible living conditions at the end of the day. If they're not lucky, they might catch heat stroke and fucking die.
Yeah. And we're going to let these guys host a World Cup.
And I don't necessarily think it's necessarily the Qatarians or whatever they're the people of Qatar. I don't know that it's them. It may be FIFA behind this, but regardless, FIFA's complicit in this. And several of their executives have already been arrested by the FBI.
Oh, shit.
In the face of this, we also recently had FIFA doing an election for their president. One would think that the one person who was the president who oversaw this bullshit, Sepp Blatter, would have been dethroned, but no, he was reelected. And then resigned 4 days later. You know, I actually like watching soccer. It is a fun game to watch, especially on the international level. But, you know, all of this that FIFA has done is just insane bullshit. It really is. And there needs to be some major reform in international football. There really does. Also, as aforementioned earlier, the Women's World Cup that is going to be played either this year or next year. You know, the Men's World Cup, you know, they build these stadiums and they put in natural turf on them because soccer players generally like to play on natural turf. It feels better. It's safer for them.
Right.
For the Women's World Cup, FIFA gives no fucks. So the women who are playing in the Women's World Cup next year, all the places they get to play have AstroTurf. Suffice it to say, every women player from every team in every country is not happy. So on top of bribery, corruption, and the use of slave labor, we have misogyny too. They are just fucking winners, aren't they? But it's okay because the women are going to be in the next FIFA World Cup game, which has gotten MRAs mad because oh my god, women soccer players, when they haven't been going, oh my god, women soccer players, oh so hot, you know.
I think their PUA skills are not strong enough.
Jeremy. Yeah, that whole thing has pretty much brought out two different kinds of assholes. You got the one kind of assholes who are like, no, women in our video games, get them away. And then there are the other ones who are, oh my god, women in video games salivate, boobs.
Well, hey, you know, I think that the guys there actually kind of realize that they don't stand a chance against anyone from the Swedish soccer team, so they just kind of insult them anyway.
Yeah, let's face it, the closest they're coming to any of these soccer players would be if they win a contest to hang out with Alex Morgan, which honestly, when McDonald's did that for their Monopoly game, out of all the sports people that they had that you could hang out with and get to play against, I honestly would have picked Alex Morgan, not out of some, kind of, lustful reasons, but mostly because, well, one of the other options was LeBron James.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
And there was also a NASCAR racer in there too, so I'd be like, no.
NASCAR?
Yeah. It was a hockey player, a NASCAR racer, LeBron James, and Alex Morgan. And I'm like, I would actually rather play against Alex Morgan. And I fully recognize that she would kick my ass. Because let's face it, she trains for that shit. I don't. I don't train to play soccer. I train to run 5Ks. There is a difference. Anyway, speaking of LeBron James, the NFL Finals have kicked off. In fact, just a couple of days ago, as of the recording of this podcast. And in fact, the next game is going to happen the day after we release this, the day before we release this podcast, and then Game 3 the day after. As of the recording of this podcast, Golden State is up 1-0. And there is only one possible way that these NBA Finals could be over before the next episode of Casual Mode. And that's if Golden State sweeps.
Probably not going to happen, honestly.
But, yeah, the Warriors have the one-game lead as of the recording of this podcast. They won the first game 108-100 in overtime.
Close game, yeah.
Yeah. But apparently Kyrie Irving has been having some foot issues, so there's some questions as to whether or not he's going to get to play. Of course, I think Kevin Love's been out with injury issues. But yeah, the biggest scorer of the game actually was the aforementioned alleged king LeBron James, with the second highest score, with the highest scorer for Golden State being, of course, Seth Curry. Here is the difference in basically their play styles in a nutshell. For that, you basically just have to look at their box score, for lack of a better phrase. LeBron James, 44 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Stephen Curry, 26 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 steals. So while Seth Curry didn't score a lot, although he was the highest scoring player on his team, he facilitated enough that the Warriors were able to come out 8 points ahead in the end. So
yeah, but Curry doesn't have to be the highest scoring point. Curry didn't have to be the highest scorer on his team because he got a lot better backup than the Cleveland Cavaliers do for LeBron.
Even so, more often than not, Stephen Curry is the one that takes over and is capable of 40-point nights. He just didn't need it that time.
Yeah.
And as you can probably guess by my opinion of LeBron James, I am rooting for the Warriors. Not just because I picked them to win the finals, but because I'm a bitter Thunder fan. I think we've established that before. And anyway, now to the meat of matters on the sports section. Of course, we had another pay-per-view event just 2 weeks after the last one, and 2 weeks before the next one, Elimination Chamber, available only on the WWE Network for basically $10.
First match?
Yeah, we're not going to talk. We're not going to talk about the pre-show because basically the only thing that happened on it was I can give you the pre-show in a nutshell. Corey Graves actually takes his job seriously. Booker T says something insanely weird. Byron Saxton is boring as hell, and Renee Young is her usual beautiful, talented self. There's your pre-show in a nutshell, folks. Oh, and Miz was a dick, and Daniel Bryan was awesome. So, anyway, we start off with the first ever Tag Team Championship Elimination Chamber. I'm going to reveal the teams in order of when they started the match. The Ascension, Lucha Dragons, Kid Cesaro, Los Matadores, Primetime Players, and The New Day. Oh, and in case you were wondering, yes, Torito did get to stay in the chamber with the Los Matadores, but Natalya had to wait on the outside. Fuck you, Vince.
Yep, the Tag Team Elimination Chamber match, or as we like to call it, 2 guys, 1 pod, or in the New Day's case, 3 guys, 1 pod.
Yes, because as we have been asking for a long time, Freebird rules, motherfucker! By order of Director of Operations Kane, all three of them crammed into the pod. Which was especially fun for Xavier Wood, who apparently is claustrophobic.
And it was like they were the last ones out. And yeah.
Yeah.
Totally fair.
Yeah, it should be noted, though, that something I think that has not ever been addressed in an Elimination Chamber match, at least not as far as I know. The logical problems with climbing on top of a pod that is yet to open. Again, starting off the match was the Ascension and the Lucha Dragons. At one point, Kalisto climbs up on top of the New Day's pod to get a high point for high-flying moves against one of the members of the Ascension, only to be pulled down and trapped by the New Day.
Smart.
Yeah, smart from the New Day, not so much for Kalisto.
No, not really. But then again, they just came from NXT, so what'd you expect?
Like I said, Kid Cesaro were the next ones out. Because Kalisto was stuck up there, it actually eventually led to Cesaro getting up there and performing a superplex on him once New Day was done with their trolling. Not too long after this, I guess this goes to show just how much his age is starting to affect him. Lawler got a little confused and called JBL JR. I mean, I know they both have the cowboy hats, but John's a little taller and somewhat thinner,
and worse on the mic.
Which, considering he doesn't have Bell's palsy, is quite amazing.
Exactly.
A little bit later on into the match, Kalisto starts climbing to the top, or basically, as I put it in my notes here, spiders his way to the top of the web.
Yeah, this was I actually really liked this move that Kalisto did. Because it actually shows his agility really well, and I really think that he's the guy who pretty much brings the Lucha Dragons over. This was definitely what Sin Cara needed to at least get him somewhat over.
Yeah.
Is a partner to work on with him so that he doesn't botch so much.
A side note,
himself hasn't botched very much, has he?
I don't think so. Not recently. But a side note, this is going back like several months now. I have kept this in my head for the longest time. If you look at them when they're during their whole entrance thing or their pump up thing, the whole lucha, lucha, lucha. If you look at them, Kalisto is always super into it, but Sin Cara kind of half-asses it somewhat.
I think Sin Cara is supposed to be meant to be the older one, and Kalisto is the bright, newer one in a way.
I know, but it's just, they've never done anything with it, but it's an interesting note. Kalisto's all super into the lucha, lucha, and Sin Cara's just like, lucha, lucha, lucha. Torito tries to follow this thing by doing his own little Spider-Man thing. Doesn't work out as well for him. His attempt to get the drop on the Ascension gets his ass kicked. And his boys pinned. So first out of the chamber, Los Matadores.
Probably should just let El Torito do it.
Yeah. In fact, the first two eliminations actually went to the Ascension. Amazingly. Before Darren Young managed to roll one of them up, and they got PTP'd. So, they were out. By the way, second elimination was the Lucha Dragons.
Right.
Third eliminated was the Ascension by the Primetime Players. Not long after this was actually when the New Day finally got into the match. And for a while there, the Primetime Players and Kid Cesaro were kind of working together out of necessity because, make it a 4-on-3 advantage. And this led to this really, really interesting spot where they all got hooked together in what was described as basically a rugby scrum. And the Primetime Players, Kid and Cesaro, do a 4-on-3 suplex on the entirety of the New Day.
That was pretty awesome.
And after that, they took I forget who it was. I think maybe it was Titus Young, took Xavier Woods and checked him back in the pod and shut the door. It wasn't too long after that, though, that the Primetime Players snuck in an elimination on Kid Cesaro, so they got eliminated in the fourth position. Only to have the number game turned on them, which just goes to show how not smart the Primetime Players are.
No, they weren't. And honestly, I was really rooting for these guys to finally win the titles.
Yeah, see, if it were me, and speaking entirely kayfabe-wise here, if it were me and I were the Primetime Players and Kid Cesaro, I would have wanted to keep that dynamic going for as long as possible to get the New Day out of the way, because then you've assured that there's going to be a new champion, and that these assholes don't have the belts anymore. And two, once they're out of the way, then it's a more even confrontation, and you're not having to fight 2-on-3. But that's just me.
Smartest idea since Sandow eliminated the Miz in that Andre the Giant Battle Royal. See how that turned out for him.
By the way, still mad about the Natalya thing.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, because they have the numbers game, shock surprise, the New Day won.
New Day wins. New Day wins. What?
Yeah, I'm still mad about the Natalya thing, no. I mean, friggin' Torito got to stay in there. And they had the New Day in by the Freebird rules, but they wouldn't let Natalya hang out. Torito wasn't even locked in the pod with the Los Matadors. He was just hanging out on top. They couldn't have, Natalya hanging out on top of Kid Cesaro's pod. Just like sitting there like with her arms crossed. They couldn't do that shit.
Huh?
I want to see Natalya beat a motherfucker up. I know she can. Her daughter is friggin' Jim the Anvil. I want to see Natalya beat a motherfucker up.
Yeah, well, I think that they're over the whole co-ed wrestling thing down in the WWE right now, so you'll be waiting a long time.
I mean, we had on NXT, not this past week, but the week before that, we had on NXT Alexa Bliss getting directly involved in physical with Team Dubstep, the Dubstep fairies hitting her move on a guy, and then we have the Elimination Chamber, and the only person related to any of these teams that is standing on the outside watching is Natalya. Ugh!
Yeah, well, that kind of just shows me that there will at least be promise when Vince McMahon is finally retires and Triple H takes over.
It just pisses me off to no end. Anyway, a little bit of a sad news from this. Rusev actually suffered a fractured foot from the SmackDown tapings before this pay-per-view, so he was in fact out of the Elimination Chamber. But that puts no bearing on the next match, which is the Divas Triple Threat. Yeah. Nikki Bella, the Gothic Banshee, Paige, and Naomi, who apparently has been listening to my comparisons to Zero Suit Samus because she actually was wearing blue. Yeah, so Apparently, Naomi is listening to the show and got the idea to just completely dress like Zero Suit Samus after my jokes about the boots.
I'm sorry, it's just saying.
I know. I have to make the joke. I have to have a little joking arrogance every now and again to counterbalance my self-deprecation.
And my pizza I ate at Costco was gourmet.
Yeah. Anyway, in all truth, probably the reason she was wearing light blue as opposed to her usual black colors is because otherwise, I guess people might have gotten her confused with Paige, which, considering one is pale as a sheet and the other one is as dark as night, it would be quite an accomplishment.
I can't tell which of them is real.
One cool spot from the match that I do have to mention is the 3 Diva Superplex, with, unfortunately, the Gothic Banshee on the worst end of it being the top end of the Superplex. Ultimately, it was Naomi that ate the rack attack and the pin, so she lost the match. Also, side note, shut up, Jerry Lawler. Yeah, seriously, he was in full-on horn dog mode during this entire match. So please, Lawler, just whenever there's a Divas match on, shut up. Either that, or get up, leave, and let Corey Graves sit in so we have someone in there who can actually talk about the damn match.
Somebody get the Pokemon back in his Pokeball.
Ultimately, though, since Naomi's the one who ate the pin, this means she goes right back to the back of the line, right? That means we won't have to worry about her for at least another month, right? Please?
This is the Divas division, Jeremy.
Please?
There's like 5 viable people in it right now. Maybe 4, I'm not sure.
I mean, I would even take Tamina as a contender.
Oh, right, Tamina. Yeah. Who's basically the sidekick right now. Yeah, Naomi's still going to be around.
Tamina, give Rosa Mendez something to do besides making out with Adam Rose. Hell, give Natalya something to do. You apparently wouldn't let her do anything with the tag match, considering you left her outside of the Elimination Chamber, so give her something to do. Have her go for the Divas Championship. It's been too goddamn long.
Speaking of Adam Rose, what exactly are they doing with that guy, Jeremy? I just saw him on NXT last week, and he was wrestling Tyler Breeze. Is he face? Is he heel? What exactly is he? He's just there.
Okay.
I miss him with the Rosebuds, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. Okay, let's get the timeline of Adam Rose straight here. He comes into NXT. His first gimmick is Leo Kruger, which I'm not even sure what the gimmick was. But apparently that gimmick didn't get over. So they roll the creative saving throw and they give him Adam Rose. And apparently that works out okay. But now they're running out of ideas again. I mean, are they going to try and roll a saving throw again and come up with something even weirder?
I'm not entirely sure. All I know is that you were talking about he was doing something with Rosa Mendez or something, but blink and you missed that one because he showed up on NXT all by himself, sucking on a lollipop and just waving at the crowd. I mean, which was a really good match, by the way. Nothing to say against it. It's just that Tyler Breeze is a heel.
I saw the
WWE hates heel matches. So what exactly was he?
I saw the E60 special. Dude deserves better than this. In fact, if I am able to come up with a better gimmick for this guy that will save his ass, I will say it on this show. I promise you. If I am able to come up with it, I'm going to say it. Because this guy deserves better. He's got a family to feed. He's got a son. You know, any of you who've seen a 360 special, his son's got serious medical issues. He's having to take care of him. I want this guy to succeed, if for no other reason than to make sure his son has a good life. It's not going to happen as Adam friggin' Rose. It wasn't going to happen as Leo Kruger. It's not going to happen as Adam Rose. There needs to be something going on, because I like the guy. He's not bad in the ring.
Well, and his Adam Rose gimmick will keep putting food on the table, since he will remain in that fine line between NXT and WWE. So, I mean, yeah.
Anyway, on to things that don't piss me off. Champion versus champion. Kevin Owens versus John Cena, a.k.a. WWE Battle of Gods. You'll see why I call it that later. It seems like these days about the only way to get Cena any kind of cheers is to cast Summon Bigger Heel. Although, as this match showed, once the Boo Yay spot came around, it was completely turned on its head, so that spell was but fleeting. Really good match between these two. Really good match. Definitely a different dynamic than when we had Cena versus Zayn, but they definitely did work very well together. Of course, Cena was chatty as usual, calling out moves, but that's kind of Cena's thing. And actually, that was kind of a running gag through the night when it was going on live on Twitter. I was just seeing people saying, God, they're calling a lot of spots like crazy. You can hear them calling spots like crazy on the show. But yeah, this match was also one where both guys brought stuff that they rarely ever used to the party. For instance, there was one spot where Kevin Owens attempted this very darn near perfect moonsault. Cena evaded, but it was a great moonsault nonetheless.
Wow.
Yeah, and they said this was kind of a signature move of John Cena's, but I don't remember seeing him use it all that much when John Cena went up to one of the top turnbuckles and did a top rope leg drop on Kevin Owens. Supposedly it's one that he uses fairly regularly, but I don't remember seeing it all that often. At one point, Owens tried to do the mock knuckle shuffle, but got caught and almost AA'd, but he kind of slipped out of that and then managed to do a mocking AA. But yeah, there was multiple different finishers from both of them. Of course, they kicked out of each other's finisher at least once, and in Cena's case, he kicked out of his own finisher. Ultimately, though, Kevin Owens on his second pop-up powerbomb did actually manage to get a clean pin on John Cena. And the heavens opened, and a choir of angels began to sing. And in the depths below, suddenly, snow began to fall. And the devil looked up at his thermometer and saw that it had dropped below 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Sisyphus was on his mountain trying to roll his boulder, slipped on a patch of ice, got squished by the boulder as it rolled all the way down. Greek mythology joke! But really, in this one match, not only did you have Kevin Owens get put over, but I truly believe that match also put over NXT. Because think about this. You have your champion of NXT, the quote-unquote developmental show, come into WWE programming, into a program against, while he's in the mid-card right now, one of the best guys on the main roster, and puts him and gets pinned cleanly in a very, very even match. What, at this point, let's face it, while, yeah, NXT is still being used to develop new talent, at this point, NXT is not really a developmental show.
I think it's the better of the shows, if you ask me.
Because now, basically, you've just said that the top guys on the top people on NXT are just as good as anybody on the main WWE roster.
Pretty much.
I mean, you showed that with Sami Zayn. You've now shown that with Kevin Owens. And given the threat that Samoa Joe poses to Kevin Owens, while we don't have direct evidence to this, it's basically kind of suggested that he would be as much of a threat to the main roster as he would be to Kevin Owens, just by, the additive property there.
Right.
And then we have the match of the night that led me to write on my paper, and I quote, "Why? Why? 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 Multiple W's, multiple H's, multiple Y's. Bo Dallas and Neville."
Because.
This is lesson 1. This is the definitive lesson in how not to treat a hot commodity. You have Neville come in, have a great feud with Wade Barrett, who I may remind you is a former WWE champion. I know they haven't been treating him much like that in recent years, but he is a former WWE champion. He's had wins over John Cena in the past. And then you basically replay a feud from NXT. Only you do it a lot shittier. Is it any wonder that the crowd was pretty well dead for this match? I mean, forget the Divas Triple Threat. That match was entertaining. This was your piss break. This was your piss break here. Neville won. Hardly anyone gave a fuck. Are you happy, Vince? Congratulations! You just managed to kill the heat of one very over young superstar. Now you're basically going to have to start from scratch with him. You just made things harder for yourself. I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy. Because you know what? I'm not. Honestly, I don't know what's more infuriating, this or Natalya being left outside the Elimination Chamber. No, I'm not going to let that go.
Yeah. I gotcha. El Torito was on top of the chamber, and yeah.
Anyway, next match, the EC for the IC. And by the way, fun thing, the winner of this match was actually going to be presented the title by the former Intercontinental Champion, Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, nice. Very nice.
Alright, in order of entrance to the match, we have King Barrett, Dolph Ziggler, Ron the Truth Killings, Mark Henry, we'll get to that, Ryback, and Sheamus. And you may have noticed that I said Mark Henry.
Rusev's replacement, essentially.
Pardon my Mike Mizanin moment here, but really? Really?
It could be worse,
Really?
Could be.
This was the best replacement they could come up with for Rusev? Instead of, like I had suggested on the last episode, maybe putting Neville in, by virtue of his win against Bo Dallas. You pull out Mark Henry, who no one in their right goddamn mind actually fucking cares about.
Not everybody doesn't care about. I mean, Mark Henry reappears and appears every once in a while. Has his share of injuries, and, it's not... I mean, it could have been a lot worse, Jeremy.
It could have been a hell of a lot better. Maybe it could have been worse, but it could also have been a hell of a lot better.
Honestly, I was afraid that the Authority was going to throw in another guy there and then probably just take the Intercontinental title, too. And I actually have a beef right now with this whole Authority storyline, where the Authority is pretty much just running their will on everything. And I understand that it's supposed to be an Authority angle, it's supposed to be like this, but my God, how long has it been? They've been dragging this out for 7 months since their second time around.
At this point, basically, they are a corporate NWO, except without any actual edge.
I was going to think like Kane was going to get in or something and then win the Intercontinental title.
No, see, that would have made too much sense.
No,
and also, actually, you see, that would have made too much sense because, I mean, the Authority being at odds with Daniel Bryan has been a thing. Has been a thing in past years. I mean, do you really expect they were going to really replay that angle again?
Probably.
With basically the second year in a row when he had to vacate a title. But anyway, King Barrett...
Over with eliminations, Jeremy.
Yeah, King Barrett came in snipping at everyone, including, weirdly, someone who he's been teamed up with several times, Sheamus.
He's English, he's Irish, of course they're going to fight.
Yeah, I already gave you the order. What's interesting to note is that Mark Henry did not enter the match in the usual way of his pod having been opened. Instead, how he entered the match was that Wade Barrett threw Dolph Ziggler through his pod, knocking one of the Lexan panels out of place. And it was counted as him being open and into the match because no disqualifications. So, what the fuck? Why not? I mean, what were you going to do? Expect him to just stand there with one of the Lexan panels out of his pod and just stand there waiting for the official signal to go out? Especially not when you had King Barrett basically getting into his face while he was still locked in the pod? Fuck no. Somebody gonna get their ass kicked. Somebody gonna get their wig split. Before Sheamus was into the match, Wade Barrett pretty much got teamed up by everybody else. So the Cocky King was KO'd cooperatively. Try saying that 3 times fast.
Nice alliteration there. Is that alliteration?
Yep. Speaking of Sheamus entering the match, his pod was actually stuck for the fairly long time. Not sure if botched or maybe that actually might have been planned. But he actually had to deploy his Celtic Cross necklace in order to kind of jimmy his way out. And when he did his whole "Are you not entertained?" thing, which... No, it was entertaining watching you get stuck in the thing and get mad that you can't get out of your pod. Now that you're out, I'm not entertained. The final two ended up actually being Ryback and Sheamus, or as I call them, the big guy and the bad haircut. Nice little back and forth between them. Nice fighting in both ring and on steel. Ultimately, though, and this was something that they said at the right before the match. A kid had apparently come up to Ryback one time and asked him about the result of his match on the last pay-per-view against Bray Wyatt. To which he said, unfortunately, sometimes the good guy doesn't always win. But that just made him supposedly redouble his efforts to make sure that at the Elimination Chamber, the good guy would win. Guess what? The good guy won.
Yeah, congratulations to Ryback. This was definitely well-deserved. Part of me was wondering, when Sheamus got pinned by Ryback. My first thought was that would he lay out on his back and shoot his arms out wide open and say, "Oh, you're not entertained?" To which I would respond, "Kinda."
Yeah, for all my jokes against Sheamus, this actually was a pretty good match overall.
Yeah,
so Ryback wins it. So feed him the albatross. Feed him the albatross. That one's for you, Noah Antweiler.
I have another title for this Elimination Chamber rather than EC for the IC.
What's that?
We all know who the real winner is. And it ain't Ryback. It's Dolph Ziggler. He's the real winner in all this.
Yeah, maybe he got eliminated, but he gets to go hang out with the ravishing Russian. So
yeah.
All right. There was a little promo spot for the Money in the Bank, which is going to be on the 14th. This is a little bit of actually spoilers from the past Raw and SmackDown. We have the full cadre of people who will be competing for the Money in the Bank contract. They are Dolph Ziggler, Adrian Neville, Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, Kofi Kingston. Is that right? That
Kofi Kingston?
Right. I believe Kofi Kingston. Let me double check that real quick.
No, it's Kofi Kingston.
Yeah.
They actually did a promo on that, and they said Kofi is going in.
Yeah, Kofi Kingston, Sheamus, and as of the last episode of SmackDown, Kane.
You know why they put in Kofi Kingston, right?
Because he is the only one of the New Day who can actually thrive in that environment.
Yeah, and plus they can use some really, really crazy shit that they can throw into it.
Yeah. Also, we have a rematch of John Cena versus Kevin Owens, which I have affectionately titled Resurrection C. See what I did there? Battle of Gods, Resurrection C. That's also kind of a stealth Mark reference because of one episode where he went, John Cena, 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 Cena.
Oh, God.
I think it was his April Fool's episode, actually, where he replaced every word with John Cena.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah, I kind of like to make little pet names.
I don't want to, just go ahead. I'm not even going to bother.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins is just boring.
Yeah.
End of story.
Battle of Gods, Resurrection C. I do want
to talk about the end of the match, though, Jeremy, if you don't mind.
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Actually, the match itself was not that bad. At least when it was just Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, there was some really good old-fashioned chain wrestling in there.
Yeah.
Between them, including one little segment where there was a nice little chain of reversals into near fall. You'd have like Seth Rollins for near fall, and then Dean Ambrose would reverse into near fall, and then back to Seth Rollins, and then back to Dean, and then back to Seth. Really fun little sequence there. Unfortunately, J&J Security.
Fuck them.
Although, props to the referee, because something happened in this match that rarely ever happens anymore.
They got kicked out?
Well, no, not that. Seth Rollins tried the whole foot on the ropes leverage pin trick, and the referee caught it.
Wonder when was the last time that happened. In a title match, no less.
Towards the end of the match, there was a ref bump in a match that should have been a DQ long before that. Ambrose hits the Dirty Deeds and has Seth Rollins in the pinfall. And in comes another referee who comes in, counts 1, 2, 3. So, Ambrose wins!
Oh my god.
And then the referee who got bumped woke up.
He's now my least favorite referee.
The two referees have this lovely little chat. And then the one who counted the pinfall goes over to the ring announcer and announces that Dean Ambrose won by disqualification. Which, in championship matches, unless there is a stipulation specifically stating that the title can change hands on a DQ, or unless the company has it as a general rule that titles can change as a bit on the disqualification, as I think TNA did for some time, the champion retains the belt if they're disqualified.
Yeah, what a bunch of bullshit, I swear. This was what I wanted to talk about, actually. Here I was, getting all excited, ready to tell Jeremy, dude, we got a new champion, and then, fuck you! Fuck you!
Yeah. But thanks to a nice little assist from Reigns, who, by the way, had previously been banned from ringside by Triple H for the match, came out at the end of the match, because once that match is over, that little stipulation no longer applied. With a little help from his friends, Dean Ambrose absconded with the class ring belt, which sets us up for our title bout at Money in the Bank, which is a ladder match. Because of course.
Yeah, predictions next week, Jeremy. Final ratings?
Overall, I would still call it an above-average show. Yeah, that ending, the ending of the main event match pissed me off, but even showing that despite all this kerflufflery, Seth Rollins did ultimately not really come out on top, still managed to push it over to a 3 unicursal hexagram out of 5.
They cock tease us on the main event, and they let Seth Rollins keep the title despite him losing. -5.
For the whole show?
Yes. Fuck this show.
I think that's a little unfair to judge a show just by the one match. I think that's a little unfair.
Fuck this show.
I mean, yeah, it's a stupid decision, and there are other stupid decisions on the show, like Natalya being left out of the Elimination Chamber tag team match. But it's not really fair to judge the entire show by one dumb decision. I mean, if that were the case, I would have
enjoying the show until this point. I was so fucking pissed off.
Well,
I couldn't even get out of my chair seeing what happened, and it was the biggest fucking cock tease I ever seen. Couldn't wait to get that title off of Rollins because, my God, it has been the most boring reign since Brock Lesnar sat at home last year. Fuck this show. -5 stars.
Would it alleviate your anger if I suggested the possibility that his title reign may not last much longer?
Well, I think he's going to win the ladder match at Money in the Bank.
I don't think he will.
I think he will. Sorry. I think he's going to remain champion to at least SummerSlam, if not longer. Because that's what WWE trying to put on us. Putting this guy watching paint dry is more fun than watching this guy. And no, it's not because of Seth Rollins himself. I think Seth Rollins as a wrestler is okay. It's the entire fucking gimmick. It's J&J Security. It's Kane. It's Big Show. It's the entire authority around it. This is the second time they've been brought back, and it's gone for 7 months. For crying out loud, would they quit it already?
Yeah, to be fair, they are playing up the John Mellon
Immortal was not this boring.
Yeah, to be fair, they are playing up the John Mellencamp song lyrics a little too literally. When I fight the authority, the authority always wins.
I'm sick of seeing Seth Rollins all the goddamn time. And like I said, again, it's nothing against Seth Rollins. He has potential. He's a good wrestler. He's okay when he wrestles. When it's one-on-one, he does great. WrestleMania, when he was there by himself, he actually looked great.
Yeah, well, see,
but the people around him make him irrelevant as a champion.
Okay, here's my line of thinking, though. Brock Lesnar's coming back soon, right?
Right.
I don't think they necessarily have to have the title on Seth Rollins for Brock Lesnar to want to go after him for revenge. I think it could very well be played off that Brock Lesnar wants revenge before getting the title back. That because he is the Beast, beating up the person who screwed him out of the title takes slightly more precedence over wanting to get the title back.
Well, I guess we'll see what happens. I still think Rollins is going to hold on to this title for a long time because for whatever reason they want to feed Rollins down our throats, at least this version of Rollins, and pretty much make this guy a paper champion and screw everything up and make WWE basically unwatchable because they put this idiot surrounding with 4 losers who can't even... I don't know. You know, can he security, really? The champion needs his own fucking security. I agree actually with Spoonie on this one. You know, I mean, you have heels in NXT, Kevin Owens and Sasha Banks. They don't need no damn security. They don't need a stable surrounding them. Sasha Banks had Becky Lynch for a short while, yeah, but overall she didn't need her. She did just fine on her own. There was no wussing or anything about it. I mean, it was the right amount of cowardice with the right amount of show up and put up. That's my rant.
Yeah, I mean, I share your annoyance with this. I don't think it's fair to the rest of the people on the show who did the best work that they could do, with the exception maybe of Bo Dallas, to completely say that the entire show sucked because of one stupid decision.
Well, I guess we'll have to agree to disagree on that one because I've been wanting the title off Rollins for a while now. Or at least, if they're going to keep it on Rollins for a long time, have him turn face and against the authority. And he might actually be somewhat more interesting.
Yeah. Let's end the sports section by talking about something that we very rarely talk about on this show. Hockey. Because, as far as I'm concerned, generally, fuck hockey. But there is something very important to talk about hockey, and that is the fact that the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Chicago Blackhawks are the ones fighting for the Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning kind of been a little dickish to Chicago fans.
Oh, boy.
There have been reports of them locking out some ticket sales to Florida zip codes only. And also restricting Blackhawks jerseys coming into their arenas. And in fact, actually, this has been kind of a thing even early on in the playoffs or just before the playoffs. But it's a really big deal now because it's the Stanley Cup, and people are going to be traveling from all over to see their team take on, fight for the Stanley Cup, especially in the case of Chicago, because let's face it, the Chicago Blackhawks are really the only team in Chicago right now that are in a position to actually win something.
Ouch.
Yeah, Lightning. The only reasoning I can think of for this is that maybe they're afraid that there are going to be more Blackhawks fans at their home games than Lightning fans.
I got a new hockey team that they could come up with if they ever wanted to expand.
What's that?
The Florida Dicks.
Yeah. Oh, I know what their logo would be.
What?
The map of Florida.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they wouldn't have to do much work on the logo there.
It looks like a penis.
Don't explain the joke, David.
What?
If you explain the joke, you kill the joke. And that's hypocritical humor from me, because how often have I done that?
Alright, well that's it for the sports.
That's it for the sports section. We promise you we will not be raging about the authority in the oldest established permanent floating segment, at least not unless we're put onto that topic.
I doubt it. We're going to have at least one interview, if not two, regarding the Major League Pokemon World Cup.
Alrighty, so see you in a bit.
Jeremy?
Yes?
Do I rant about the authority now?
No, we're past that. That. And
damn it!
besides, we might confuse our guest. One of the members of the Major League Pokemon also will be participating in the Pokemon World Cup to Victoria.
Victoria Latawiec.
Latawiec. Yay, you pronounced it right.
Yeah, I let him do that because
he told me it like twice.
Yeah, I let him do that because I figure he'd know better than I do.
Okay.
Not really.
It's okay. My last name's kind of weird to pronounce too because German pronunciation. Anyway, she is.
It's okay. I have Polish pronunciation. Don't feel bad.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's just not equal German.
Yeah, she's graciously agreed to join us and answer a few questions. So let's get started with how you got started playing Pokemon and also how you got started playing Pokemon competitively.
Let's see. How did I start playing Pokemon? You mean like in general or what?
Yeah, like what generation did you start with?
Gen 1. Gen 1ers, yay! Anyway, I saw a commercial for Pokemon Yellow. I begged my mother to get it for me. I wanted it. I did not stop begging her until she got it. I got it for Easter. I was very pleased.
Pikachu in an Easter basket.
Yes, I got a Pikachu in an Easter basket. I was very pleased. Victoria was pleased. I still have my original Game Boy, and it works perfectly, except there's a giant scratch on the screen. But oh well, it still works.
I still have my original Game Boy too, except I got to put a rubber band around the battery cover because the battery cover is kind of busted.
I don't have my original Game Boy Pocket because I had to garage sale it for money some years back. How did you get started playing Pokemon competitively?
When I joined Pokemon Paradise Battle and Trades, I wanted to be a gym leader, and I knew absolutely nothing, so I figured I would try out just for the heck of it. And none of my teams were like EV trained at all. I just wanted to see how I stood up against regular competitive players, and they were like, your team is good, you just need to work on the competitive aspect of it. Like EV train your Pokemon, IV train your Pokemon. Not IV train, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I kind of just learned, all because I wanted that one gym leader spot. And it wound up going from having one gym leader spot to maybe about 3 or 4.
Right. And how did you get started in Major League Pokemon?
Oh, this is a fun story. I got started when I asked David to do a share for share with Paradise. And he ever so graciously agreed. And the rest is just history. I don't even remember how the rest happened. I decided to talk to him. He had mentioned that he had a gym, that he was trying to build up a league. I asked him if he had a mono fire type free, and he said, yes, we do. And I was like, do you mind if I try out? And that's how that started, and that's how I got involved.
Right. What kind of Pokemon do you tend to use on your competitive teams? I mean, aside obviously from your gym leader fire type.
I'm still really in the process of learning all of that. I haven't really branched much outside of outside of the gym leader, outside of my gym type.
Right.
But I do have an OU team that is pretty decent, for lack of better terms.
Right.
I tend to use like a lot of sweepers. I like all out attacking. Basically just hit hard, hit as hard as you can, and hit as fast as you can.
Must be why we get along so well. I'm kind of the same way.
I would be a freak. Freddy terrified me during my tryout. I would have destroyed your team if Freddy was not there and basically wrecking my entire team.
Yeah, I've faced off with his Freddy Fazbear team as well. Yeah.
I was not Freddy for ready that day. I was not prepared. Like I remember my tryout like it was just yesterday. I was not even halfway through when David was like, her team is amazing. I love her team, but she still has to go through Carbo. So, yes, Mom. I'm keeping quiet. I'm sorry. Sorry.
It's okay.
That's going to go in the bloopers. Anyway, but David said that I'd still had to go through Carbo. And I was like, okay. And I was pretty much destroying his entire team until Freddy came out. I have never been more scared of a Diggersby in my life.
Yeah, I've faced that particular Diggersby myself. I know the feeling.
I think that's David's alter ego. That is your alter ego. Freddy Fazbear. Freddy Fazbear. I'm gonna make you a Freddy Fazbear shirt. I should. I'm gonna make you a Freddy Fazbear shirt anyway.
All right. Do you have any interesting or funny stories from your competition in Major League Pokemon or in Paradise as well?
Oh boy, we're gonna be here for a while.
Well, I didn't really get to do much in Paradise because unfortunately Paradise got shut down before I really could do anything. Major League Pokemon. Funny stories of my competitions. My gym tryout.
Stories in general.
Oh my god, where do we start?
I chose wisely.
I have so many we've had so many interesting conversations.
Yeah, just like pick maybe one or two.
Victoria's like a library of information on this one.
I actually have to scroll up through the chat to figure this one out. Oh my god, let's see. I would probably say my funniest story it wasn't in Major League Pokemon, but I think my funniest story that I could ever come out with is the story of me and Patrick. That is the funniest story I have.
All right.
Or David has to suffer through that again.
I'll just put you on mute or something. Well, I mean, put me on mute.
Oh, God.
Fun.
Oh, go. Really? You're going to leave me with him? Oh, my God.
I don't bite. Unless that's what you're into.
I'm supposed to be.
I'll pretend I didn't hear that.
We're not even in the silly news and dumb tweets yet. We're laughing our asses off.
I would say there goes my journalistic integrity, but let's face it, when did I ever have any?
Fox News would call themselves journalists. I'm pretty sure you can't do that.
Yeah, this is me we're talking about. Apparently I'm a walking comedian, but I have so many funny stories with Major League that I can't even, think of just one.
Well, like I said, if you can think of, a couple, that would work.
The story of me and Patrick, but we won't go into that.
A little too personal for the interview, huh?
I'm not going to go into. It's not even that bad. It's rated G. It's probably rated less than G.
I know. But like any good journalist, I have to sensationalize some things,
Yeah.
What's been your favorite opponent to face in Major League Pokemon?
My favorite opponent? Well, I would be lying if I said it wasn't David.
Okay, then aside from David.
Why does anyone pick me for? Am I really that easy of an opponent?
No, we're making fun of Freddy. Let's see, my favorite opponent. I gotta think about this one. Jeez, I faced everybody. I think my favorite? It's definitely not Patrick. I haven't battled him in a while. Oh yeah, don't tell him I said that. Sorry, Pat. I love you. My favorite? Aside from David.
Yes, aside from David. Because otherwise it wouldn't be an easy question. Because otherwise it'd be an easy question.
My favorite opponent? Probably Cohen. Definitely Cohen. My favorite opponent, Alex Cohen.
All right.
If I had to pick one.
Yeah, and since of course we all live in a Pokemon world, as it were, favorite non-legendary and legendary Pokemon.
My favorite non-legendary, Gardevoir. And my favorite legendary is Arceus.
Right. Favorite type?
Fire.
Of course.
Thanks.
All right. Any questions you want to fire back at us?
Not really. Not really.
Victoria is in the Caribbean Group West, and you've probably noticed this, Jeremy. Sorry, I had to clear my throat there. The Nebula champion is in the Caribbean Group West, Eric Thomas.
I will take him down. I didn't say here.
Probably easily the biggest threat here on the list. I think Eric Burkhalter might be a just as equal threat. So, how do you think your chances are, Victoria, of making it through the top three and getting an automatic spot into the next round?
You want the truth or you want the lie?
Truth.
Slim to none.
Hey, Dow, you're stealing my bit.
It's funny because I actually had an OU battle with Eric last week. Eric Burkhalter?
Yeah.
I think I would know German by now. Duh. I'm sorry, Patrick.
You should hang out with Patrick more. Start dating him.
I'll pretend
Victoria and Patrick sitting in a tree.
Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match.
I love that musical. I love the musical. I was in it.
One of the few musicals I can actually stand.
It was an amazing show. I was in it when I was 10.
Wow.
I just had an OU match with Eric last week. He completely destroyed me. I am a little bit terrified.
All right. You know, Dave, we should come up with a support hashtag for her, for the people listening to this show, if they want to show her their support for Victoria. Kind of akin to mine, hashtag last or bust.
All right, well, all right, we got mine.
We should do hashtag Patoria. Patoria. There's a whole story behind that. Apparently, one of the members of Trual decided to take the Patrick and Victoria thing a little too far and make one of those little celebrity combination names.
And thus a shipping was born.
Oh. Speaking of, I guess I will then go to a question regarding your boyfriend, Patrick.
Oh my God.
All right. Seriously though, Patrick, your friend Patrick is in the Atlantic Group Eurasian group, and as far as I've seen in the group, it looks like his only serious threat that I can see is Charles. How do you like that one? Think he might do well in his group?
Oh, it's hard being honest. I'm sorry, it's probably gonna kill me for this, but I think Patrick has a pretty good shot of making it to the second round if he can get past Charles. Because I will not lie, as much as I adore Patrick, Charles is a really, really, really good battler. I actually just battled him last week. Not last week. I think the other night I just battled him. I think we battled OU versus OU. And I was looking, and his team was just absolutely incredible. I was like, holy... Yeah. His team.
You can curse on this show. We don't mind.
His team is absolutely fucking amazing. But his team is really good, and I would definitely say that Charles is definitely a force to be reckoned with in this in round one, maybe even round two. Charles is definitely a force to be reckoned with.
All right. Since I'm basically making my personal competitive debut, any tips you might have for me?
Fake it till you make it.
I mean, yeah.
No, I'm being dead serious.
Yeah.
If you're just starting out, pay close attention to what your teammate, not your teammates. Pay attention to what Pokemon your opponents have, and try to predict who they're going to send out first.
Unless it's against Wayne Trimnell, in which case I'm totally screwed.
He got the Xenos Dragon leader in his group.
Good luck.
It's okay. I have an Usagi.
Nah, Wayne's absolutely a force to be reckoned with as well. Wayne destroyed all of us going up to E4 in Zarkon.
There's actually a running joke regarding how Wayne entered Freddy Fazbear's gym and remains the only person to beat it 6-0.
Poor Freddy Fazbear is still in therapy after that.
Yeah. Honestly, as soon as I saw my draw and saw he was in the draw, that was when I officially started the hashtag last or bust thing.
No, but Wayne's definitely a force to be reckoned with. There's a lot of very, very, very good competitors in World Cup this year. I'm excited to see who makes it to the top and who gets crowned the champion / winner.
Right. Victoria, thank you for putting up with us.
Honey, I've put up with David for 6 months. I ain't going anywhere.
Well, David is one thing, but now you've had to put up with one other jackass. So.
I have seen bigger jackasses in the world. You are absolutely nothing compared to the jackasses I have seen.
I know, but 90% of my humor is self-deprecating, and the other 10% sucks. So.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Seriously, though, thank you.
No problem. Anytime.
All right. That was really, really fun. Whatever comes next, hopefully will be just as fun and funny. Well, looks like we're doubling up on our interviews this week, and actually, in a way, we're tripling up on our interviews because now we're interviewing two people at once, which is a casual mode first. David, if you would introduce them.
Yeah, as many of you know, I was at the VGC Regionals last week for the basically for the Masters Division down in Athens, Georgia. And I met two people. You probably noticed on the Instagram. I'm going to put up the picture here on the YouTube of, take a look at that. It's a cosplay of a hiker and a Pokemon trainer, a female Pokemon.
Hilda from Black and White, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And, well, I thought that the outfits were absolutely awesome, just saying. And I thought, well, might as well interview them. So here they are, Chuck Pierce and Chrissy Hattaway, who are also part of the World Cup, by the way.
Yeah. Welcome to the show, and like he said, great cosplays there.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's just the awkward situation where we're the only ones in costume at the competition. So there you go.
Well, my fiancée Maggie wants to cosplay next year when I go to regionals, so you guys probably won't be alone next time.
And if
I like the...
Yeah, and if I ever get to go to something like that, I've got a shiny Umbreon cosplay myself, because I like shiny Umbreons.
Oh, that's cool. Well, yeah, it was so weird, too, because we had I've been to every year it's been in Athens. I think it's like 3 years now. Uh-huh. Every year there's been people, like at least 4 or 5 people that have dressed up. So I was talking to Chrissy. I was like, hey, well, why don't we go ahead and dress up? I'm sure we won't be the only ones. And then my fiance was like, you guys are going to be so stupid. You're going to be the only ones there. And then, lo and behold, we were the only ones there. It was so weird. But maybe we got more attention that way.
Yes, you've also
got a lot of pictures taken from people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we got swarmed.
And you've also learned a very important lesson. Sometimes you must listen to the fiance.
Every now and then, I suppose so.
Well, with my case, then it's probably not listen because she would make me cosplay as something. She wants me to cosplay as a male Gardevoir.
Male Gardevoir?
Yes, seriously.
Oh, I am picturing that right now.
No.
I mean, that would you definitely get some pictures. I'm just throwing that out there.
No.
It's interesting.
No. Just no. It was embarrassing enough that I went 2-6 at regionals after getting screwed twice towards the end of it. No, literally screwed.
Hey, you could.
Here's
It could
the point.
be worse.
I saw the video.
Yeah.
It could be worse. You could be mega male Gardevoir.
The Contessa of Calamity Mega Gardevoir.
Throw on the hoop skirt.
No. Oh, man. So, maybe you should continue with the interview, Jeremy.
Yeah. Well, let's keep going along the cosplay track. How did both of you get started with cosplay? We'll start with you, Chuck.
Okay, well, actually, this is, I believe for both of us at least, this was one of my first experiences doing cosplay at an event like this. I've always, here in Athens, we have I don't know if Halloween it technically counts as cosplay because it's Halloween, but it's around Halloween we have a big, it's called the Wild Rumpus, and basically everyone dresses up in costumes and whatnot, and marches downtown Athens, like down near the Classic Center area, like that you would have seen, David, when you were here. We marched downtown Athens in different costumes and stuff, and that's where 1 year I was Dr. Eggman from the Sonic series. Last year I was 1 year I was Hades, like from Disney's Hercules. My fiance was Ursula.
Oh wow!
Last year I believe last year actually was the first time I did the hiker outfit, because I was like, you know what, I wanted to do Pokemon, and we finally convinced my fiance to do it too. So Chrissy did her Hilda, and I did my Pokemon hiker, and my fiance was Butterfree. She did she had the butterfly wings, and I even got her to wear like a yellow scarf, like Ash's Butterfree.
Wow.
And then we were going to do these costumes for the tournament last year for the regionals, but Chrissy wasn't able to attend, and I just decided, well, okay, I'll just go without a costume. So technically, that's where I first wore the hiker, was for the Wild Rumpus this past October, and when it came to this competition, Chrissy had brought her costume and everything, and I hadn't even thought about it. I had almost forgotten about it, and she was like, I'm dressing up. Are you going to wear your hiker? And I was like, yes, I am. So I gathered everything, dug through all my drawers, and gathered everything back together pretty much last minute, just enough time to put it all on the next morning and go to the competition. But it was a lot of fun.
How did both of you start?
First.
Oh, right.
No, it's okay. I mean, Chuck pretty much filled it in. I was gonna do the competition last year. He mentioned that people did the cosplay thing. I was like, oh, cool. Who can I go as? Oh, I know. How about Hilda? She works. She would be easy to put together. And then literally the night before, I found out family crisis came up. Couldn't go. And I've just had the costume since then. I think I've worn it, 3 other times? 2 or 3? So it's gotten its wear, definitely.
Just out of curiosity, and we'll start with Christine on this one. What generation of Pokemon game did y'all start with?
Well, personally, I started with 2. My first game I ever played, I think ever, on Game Boy was Pokemon Crystal. I loved it. I was obsessed. I loved Suicune. It was great. Then, I played the 3rd generation games. Then the game system switched over to DS, and I was young enough at the point where I didn't have the funds to get it, so I just kind of put it down for a while. And then I met Chuck through my best friend, who is now his fiance, and he was like, oh, hey, Pokemon, you should play again. You can buy a DS now. You've got money.
I was a bad, good influence.
Yes, you awoke the monster. And then that's why I picked up 5th gen and played that for a month. Then 6th gen came out, and that's about where I got stuck.
Seems like a lot of players came back in around the 6th generation.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, it's really good gen to come back in on. You get all the old Pokemon, you can get the new ones, and this latest one, you can get all the legendaries, practically, which is nice.
yeah, and it's also a lot more accessible for building competitive teams with the various ways you can train up your Pokemon as well.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just gonna let her finish. I didn't want to interrupt. No. So my first Pokemon game was blue version. I saw I got into Pokemon early enough that WB hadn't even bought up the series yet, so they were still airing a couple episodes on local channels.
Uh-huh.
And I saw the first episode of the anime I ever saw was Tentacool and Tentacruel. When it was new, the one where the Tentacruel comes through and destroys all the buildings and stuff. And I was like, oh man, this is awesome. I got to figure out what this is. And so I went to Walmart or I assume it was Walmart, and got some of the toys and some of the other stuff, and then I saw a commercial for the video game. I think it was the old one with like where they all get like squished on a bus. I don't know if you've ever seen that old commercial, but I was like, oh, I gotta have this game. So it was my 8th birthday, 9th birthday, if I do the math. I got a Game Boy Pocket for my birthday. I hadn't really played games that much prior to this. I had a Super Nintendo, but I had like 2 games for it: Porky Pig's Haunted Holiday and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So I was like, I got Pokemon Blue as my choice of game when I went to the store, and I played it. And I had never played a game with a save feature before. So I picked Charmander, and I was like, okay, cool, this is awesome. Well, I'll just turn it off. And so I turned it on again, and I probably played through the game and got all the way through like Brock 2 or 3 times before I actually managed to read down the menu. I was like, oh, what does this button do? And then finally figured out, oh, wow, I can save my progress. So I played plenty of times, so to speak, through Blue version, and then I kept going down the line. I got Yellow. I got a lot of the spin-off games. Gold, Silver, and Crystal are definitely my favorite. I never really missed a generation. Everyone else sort of got out of Pokemon. Not everyone else, obviously, but a lot of people got out of Pokemon and had to come back into it. I always kept playing. I did it in secret, for a good number of years, to hide my shame. But it started becoming popular again for most of my friends when 4th generation came out. I was probably a junior in high school, I think. And a lot of people started picking it back up again. And that's where I sort of started to get in. I would watch YouTube and those kinds of things. I was just beginning to understand, what the heck is an Eevee? What the heck is an Ivy? That kind of stuff. And then through Generation 5, I got some more insight into that, and I built my first competitive team in Generation 5 for the when I heard they were doing the Athens regionals down here. I didn't do so well with it. I didn't breed natures. I knew the Eevee system, and that's about as far. And I knew Ivies existed, but I was like, I'm not going to spend the time to actually work on that stuff. So I pretty much didn't make the best team I possibly could. But then when Gen 6 came out and they made a lot of the stuff a lot easier, that's when I finally started, okay, I can breed for IVs. I can do this. So, yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty much the story is not very interesting. I'm just a nerd who stuck with it.
You realize what you did before you figured out how to save the game in Pokemon. Basically what you did was, when you took the game home, you played it under store demo rules. Where they would have it on the Game Boy and it would you'd play it through it and it automatically reset the thing like every 5 minutes or so.
Right. It was somehow, I think the farthest I ever got was, I believe I got all the way through the end of Mount Moon, which for a 9-year-old who didn't know you could save, I think that's a decent amount of progress. And then, yeah, it was just like a light bulb went off. I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes this a lot less daunting, because I had like the guidebook and everything too. I was like, how the heck am I supposed to? I'm never going to get through this whole thing. So it something so simple, but at the time it was a big deal for me.
Probably because it was very difficult to find a game that would save at the time.
Yeah, that was like mid-gen Game Boy when having save files in games was really starting to only just then become a common thing.
Right, especially in Game Boys. I mean, like, N64 had been out for a while, PS1, a lot of the later SNES games, you could save, but I had never really had any experience with those because I hadn't an SNES that I had gotten for Christmas a few years prior. But again, I had 2 games, neither of which could save. So it was, even though, yes, I didn't grow up in the generation before, like, saving progress was a thing, I still felt like I was part of that just because I was sort of save deprived, if you will.
Yeah. We'll start again with you, Chuck, for this one. Tell us a little bit about the kind of Pokemon you tend to use in competitive play.
Competitively, when I'm making a team, I start with I look at usually the list of most common Pokemon or whatever, because I mainly play VGC. I want to get into some Smogon stuff. I've looked at it before, but I just I never really. I'll make a team. I'll use it like once, and then I really don't spend a lot of time with it. So that's something I would like to expand more. But anyway, for VGC, when I make a team, usually I look at the list of the most common Pokemon, and I'll think of, okay, here's what I'm going to run into. Here's what I'm going to run into. What can I build around that? And then I'll completely throw that out the window and decide I want to use something completely off wall. Like this year I did with my Mega Altaria, where I was tried a couple common things, and I was like, okay, this isn't really working. Well, what's something that they wouldn't expect that I could use? And sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't. Usually, it just depends on how the team's built and the support around it. I'm going to be the first honest with you. I'm not the best when it comes to like getting synergy down. Sometimes I hit it and it's perfect, and sometimes I can never quite get it there. So I'm not going to say I'm the best at team building. I'm really not, but I like to at least look at uncommon options. The team, which is ironic because the team that I did the best in, where I made top cut, was it last year or year before last? I used pretty much run of the mill good stuff Pokemon. So I mean, the way I like to build teams isn't probably as successful as if I just look at some of the most common threats. I tend to make better teams when I focus on that, but I tend to enjoy focusing on the underdog Pokemon, more. So it's kind of a toss-up.
All right. Christine?
All right, so just to set the stage, this was my first competitive team I've ever made. So I'm probably not going to have as much detail to give, but I just really wanted to use Mega Absol. Like, Absol was one of my favorites, 3rd gen. He's kind of stayed one of my favorites. So I ended up trying to kind of build the team around that. And, I went online, looked up a lot of stuff of, what Pokemon would be good with this Mega Absol. And that's where I found, Gyarados is good, it's fast, it's powerful. Dusclops ended up being the hero of the team, somehow. And Talonflame, because who doesn't love a bird of fire on their team? And then I was going through the list of what I had, and listing out which EVs I would need to train and all that, and I realized, I don't have any special attackers on this team. And this was like the 2 nights before the competition, so I cornered Chuck. I'm like, what could I use? And he suggested Gastrodon, which it's a sea slug. You wouldn't think it would be awesome, but it ended up being one of the big heroes too. So yeah, pretty much I guess I kind of ended up going with the underdogs too somehow, but it worked.
All right. Do either of you have any funny stories from either from going to regionals or from Pokemon competition, or just from playing Pokemon with people in general?
Huh. I think my funniest story was the save feature. I think I blew that one. I should have waited.
Good job, Chuck.
All right then, Christine.
Let's see, funny stories. I'd say it's more ironic than funny, but technically, if you want to look at it, technically, I at least tied with Chuck this competition, but his last competitor was a no-show, so he kind of won by default, so we'll never know. Although he ended up creaming me the day after when we had a little not official contest.
I
Get
didn't
taunt.
cream you. It was a close fight.
You had taunt. You knocked out my Dusclops. Go to
It
use
just-
the Will-O-Wisp, and it was done.
But
yeah.
Well, I think what she's trying to say is it was kind of funny this regional that it was like I would win and she would lose, and then she would win and I would lose. It was like we would never like quite sync up. One of us would always do one, and the other one was always the under. So we both ended up with a 4-4.
4-4 standings, which wasn't bad
Right.
considering.
Especially
Yeah,
for it being her first competition, you know.
Considering we were kind of night before still scrambling, trying to put everything together and figure out, or at least I was trying to figure out my team. Chuck was just trying to level them all up and everything.
All right. Prerequisite question for all Pokemon fans, and we'll start with you on this, Christine. Favorite legendary, favorite non-legendary, and favorite Pokemon type.
Let's see. Favorite legendary, Suicune. I've always had a soft spot for Suicune. Non-legendary, that one's a little trickier. Kind of liked any of the canine-based ones, but I think I'll go with Arcanine on this one just because of nostalgia factor. And actually I have two favorite types. I'm kind of tied between Fire and Dark. Two of the less common ones used, but I still really like them.
Right. Chuck?
Favorite legendary, I would have to go with probably Lugia, solely appearance-wise. I mean, it's not bad either. It's a great Pokemon, but just I've always thought Lugia was really cool. I loved it in the second movie when I was a kid. And Shadow Lugia just looks badass.
A man after my own heart.
But I would say favorite non-legendary, probably I would say Venusaur, solely because it was the Pokemon that I first. Technically, it wasn't my first starter. Charmander was my first starter, but I remember Venusaur as my first starter because that's the first starter I picked after I learned I could save the game.
Yes.
And yeah, go ahead, Chrissy.
I still can't believe you've never told me this story.
I could have swore I had, but anyway. So yeah, and I used it to beat Blue version because again I was 9. So at the time I was like, I'll just use my starter Pokemon for the win, yay! And I did. And I beat it in Blue, and then Yellow came out, and I was like, screw this Pikachu. I traded over my Venusaur and just used Venusaur to beat the game, because at this point it was like level 70-something, and yes, it wasn't listening to me, but if I kept pressing the A button fast enough, I would win anyway. So I just, so that Venusaur I used for a very long time, and then I guess this could count as your funny story, too. And then I accidentally traded it. When I say accidentally, I mean I knew what I was doing. But a guy was like, oh, I've got like a level 100 Blastoise, which he had undoubtedly, I'm sure, used the missing no glitch to get level 100 and then traded it to his gold version. And I was like, well, I have my Venusaur that I actually raised to level 100 because I, took it through 2 whole games. And he was like, you want to trade? You want to trade? You want to trade? You want to trade? I was just like, okay, fine. So we traded at school one day, and I somehow, I don't know if my save corrupted or what, but I lost his Blastoise. Like, it wasn't there. Like, after the trade happened, he had my Venusaur, but I didn't have his Blastoise anywhere. So, I still don't know how that happened. So I had essentially just given my Venusaur away. So, long story short, I guess Venusaur. And then my 3 favorite types. Well, favorite type, I'm saying 3 because I'm like Chrissy, I can never pick one. So, Fairy, Flying, or Poison. All 3 are probably tied for my favorite.
And at least as of this episode, I started to offer an opportunity for either one of you to ask us a question. So, if you'd like.
Okay. I will start with you, David.
Right.
What was your first Pokemon experience?
Like video games or competitions?
Just where did you hear about this Pokemon thing?
Woke up 5:30 in the morning, and there was a Scyther and an Electabuzz on my TV screen for some odd reason. And I thought, oh, cool. I also had a Game Boy, and I saw this game called Pokemon Blue, and I thought I'd play it. I chose Charmander. Unlike you, I knew there was a save feature.
Some of us aren't that lucky.
And I found the game originally extremely difficult because, it's a Charmander and you have to go through Brock. And here I am blasting every bug in sight, and I'm looking at this Geodude, and I'm like, why can't I kill this Geodude? and there was this one time where I went to the Mount Moon, and I swear there was nothing in that cave but Zubat. I think it was later on I found out there were actually other Pokemon in that cave, but the only thing that I would be able to find there was Zubat. Zubat. Kind of screwed up towards the rock tunnel because I didn't know that Flash existed back then. So I made it through that rock tunnel by myself in the dark without any help whatsoever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Thinking back on it, I think I did the same thing.
I think I did that once just for the fun of it, just to see if I could.
I think we all have at least once. At least anyone who's played Gen 1.
At least once.
Not the the later
gens
gens where you have that little circle around where you can actually see. It's quite a different matter. But when it was just basically all you could do is like barely you could do is see like your sprite and nothing else. That was quite a different matter.
Yeah, and if we didn't have backlights back in my day, we didn't have no shitty backlights. We had to use the stars for our backlight. And you wouldn't be able to see for crap if you tried doing it at night, which I know for a fact at one point I did. And I was like, is my Game Boy okay? Because it was the Pocket, you could adjust the brightness of like, I've got the brightness all the way up. I can't see.
Yeah.
Or with the advanced, you get that really weird light attachment.
Yeah, that attached to the link cable spot and had like a little spot where you could use it and the link cable at once.
Witchcraft.
And I was so unlucky to use my Master Ball on a Weezing.
Ooh. Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, Chrissy? Do you have one
Jeremy.
for us? Okay.
Jeremy, this one will be for you. Although David can chip in if he wants to.
Okay.
What is your funny Pokemon story?
My funny Pokemon story. Oh god, I'm gonna have to think for one here.
You have 5 seconds.
You've wasted 3.
My funny Pokemon story isn't really a specific story about a specific event. Either it's more of a general story. It's that I don't remember when I started it. I think it was when I started playing the Gen 4 games, like Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. That was about the time I finally decided to start naming my Pokemon theme names. I don't remember what all I had started with at the first. I think one of the first ones I did was I named them after various different Transformers, which means I had a Lucario named Ultra Magnus and an Umbreon named Rodimus Prime.
High five! I did that in my Silver a couple playthroughs back.
Yeah, and a Spinnerack that later evolved that I nicknamed Black Arachnia. Of course.
Nice.
I forget what Pokemon it was, but I know I had one, and I think it was a Dragon type, that I named Triptychon, after the big, huge dinosaur/city Decepticon. Then in Generation 5, I don't remember what I did in Generation 5, but in Generation 6, I started picking out names of people, of characters from Super Sentai or Power Rangers. And I ultimately ended up with a Gardevoir named after the Yellow Deca Ranger. I named her Jasmine. Modest nature. And
you like that Gardevoir too.
Yeah, I super trained her up and got her a lot of powerful. Of course, I also kind of broke my streak there by naming the Charizard that I got as the Johto starter near the beginning from the rivals in that game. Named it Red Eyes. Because I knew I was going to turn it into a Mega Charizard X. Red Eyes Black Dragon.
Nice.
From Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah. Yeah, Jasmine, I trained her up, super trained her, and I got to the Elite Four, and I unknowingly had her at the front of my party, and it was just demolition. I blitzed through the entire Elite Four of Pokemon X with her in the lead. I had Calm Mind that I could use as an opening move, but sometimes I wouldn't even have to do that. Just have her completely obliterate the Elite Four and Professor Sycamore as well. And so when it got to the post game of that, and I went to go see Dianthe and got the Gardevoir right, it was kind of like saying to Jasmine when I put the Gardevoir right on her that you earned this, girl.
That's cool.
Unfortunately, I don't have that Gardevoir right anymore because I traded up into Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire using Pokemon Bank, and you can't keep items when you do it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, should have just asked me, man.
Yeah, and as a side note to that story, when I started playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, I actually named my Pokemon after Fire Emblem Awakening characters.
Last week, this is a really funny one, I faced a guy that had 6 Arceuses.
Well, that's
Really?
not sketchy at all.
That's totally legit, man.
And he wanted to challenge me to a battle, and thought that he had me into this. And so we battled. Whatever. I thought I was going to lose. And I was getting my butt kicked. And I think I was down 3 Pokemon until I brought out Gardevoir. After that, he used an Arceus and tried to get rid of Gardevoir, but for some reason, Hyper Voice landed on the first Arceus, critical hit, knocked it out. Next one came up, he tried to use it as a wall, critical hit, knocked it out.
Oh my god.
A few turns later, there goes the third Arceus. And the fourth. He then self-destructed, don't ask me how he has a self-destruct, his 5th.
It's totally legit.
And
I mean, obviously for a guy who had 6 Arceuses.
RCI.
And then Mega Gardevoir fainted after that, and then I had to use, I believe it was Talonflame to get rid of the last one. So my Mega Gardevoirs helped me out through a lot. I think I've used her as my main Pokemon since Generation 3. And she's been the MVP for a lot of my Smogon battles. I haven't used her yet in VGC tournaments. I should have used her.
Maybe you can next year when you're dressed up as the male Gardevoir.
No! And Jeremy was using this opportunity to tell me I told you so, because he was begging me last night, don't use Sylveon, use Mega Gardevoir. I'm like, but everyone tells me Mega Gardevoir is not good.
It can. I mean, it can. Everyone, like, when I would play with Mega Altaria, everyone was like, "Really, you're using that? Oh, that's interesting. That's not going to go very far." And then it'd take hits like nobody's business and dish it out more than you'd think it would. So, I mean, I can't say anything. I still wound up with a 4-4 record, but that's still 4 victories where people were like, "Oh, Mega Altaria, what?" And then, that.
Yeah, and there were, and
actually
I mentioned to Jeremy, there were 2 occasions where had Sylveon been replaced with Mega Gardevoir, I would have won.
I think the problem is that Gardevoir's image is kind of damaged by the fact that it is used so much in hentai. People have reduced Gardevoir to basically a fan service Pokemon, not really ever taking it seriously, so that when someone does train one up to use one seriously, people tend to scoff about that until they get hit with a moonblast to the face.
Well, Gardevoir itself, just a plain Gardevoir, is considered one of the higher tier VGC Pokemon. Like, it's not really a tier because it's all VGC, but the higher ranking VGC Pokemon, because it has a lot of defensive and offensive capabilities. It's got a wide move pool. Like, most people respect Gardevoir, but in VGC you don't see as many. You see some from time to time, but you don't see as many Mega Gardevoir. Generally, just because I guess most VGC players see that as wasting a Mega slot, when Gardevoir. Just plain Gardevoir can fit so many different places. It can wear so many different faces on its own, and then you can have another Mega slot versus using Mega Gardevoir. I think that's the way most people look at it. I'm not saying that that's necessarily true. I think that's what the thinking behind that is.
Besides that, didn't I forgot one of the 2 finalists of the World Championships last year used a Gardevoir on their team as well? So it's not like it's totally out of the way, right?
No. Like I said, a Mega Gardevoir pops up every now and then, and a lot of people use plain, like, non-Mega Gardevoir. So it's just the Mega form is just not as common, Yeah. Basically, if it's not a Mega Kangaskhan or a Mega Lucario or a Mega Metagross or a Mega Salamence, it's not a good Mega, or a Mega Charizard Y. It's not a good Mega to use in VGC. That's the general, consensus. Is that those 5 are your top Megas. I'm sure you guys are going to get plenty of comments now telling me I'm full of it, but that's just what I've seen and what I've looked online and stuff is you see those 5 over and over and over and over and over again, and it's like anytime you try to use a different Mega, you either get the people who are really nice and are like, oh, that's interesting, I want to fight this, and then you get the people who are like, you're going down, this is easy, because they don't expect that Mega to be good because they've never seen it. Which in VGC can be scary because you've got people who are like, one of the most scary things in VGC is going against something you have never seen. Like, even if it's a team, and I think that's partly, Chrissy, you had a very unorthodox team.
Yeah, like I said, the Dusclops, man.
Right.
Led with that Dusclops, I won 4 of them. It was usually last man standing.
Right, and you would have people, tell you that they were literally, scared of your team because they didn't know what to make of it. They didn't know what to do with it because it's not the same, the Pokemon they're used to seeing in VGC.
So Jeremy was right. I should have used the team that I'm used to.
To paraphrase Mark Twain here, the secret to Pokemon is to use the Pokemon you like and let them fight it out on the game.
It really is. It really is. If you can at least, when building a team, pick stick to Pokemon you like, and then you use some of the ones that everyone else uses if they work for your team. But have fun with it at the end of the day. Don't just stick to the obviously there are people out there who stick to the main top tier Pokemon and then they succeed. But like I said, the most fun I have half the time is when I build a team that I'm like, this probably isn't going to do very well because it's unorthodox. And then, you know what? I win a couple matches with it. I have more fun doing that than I do following a cookie cutter team and, making Top Cut, which, again, I did one year. I did that one year. And I had more fun this year using my Mega Altaria. So...
Yeah, and I have to say, it was very satisfying watching my regular old Gyarados take down a Mega Venusaur in one of those matches. Very satisfying. So, just, really, it's best just to go with what your gut tells you, what you want to do, and really, it kind of gives you the advantage if you have something people won't expect, because they can't plan for it.
Now you know, and knowing is 1/3 of the battle. I always add in caring alongside with doing as the other 2/3. Anyway, Chuck, Chrissy, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having us. It's been fun.
All right.
Yeah, it's been interesting.
Silly news and dumb tweets coming up in just a little bit. Victoria has come back to help us talk about very, very silly things. Starting off with the silly news. This first one, by way of the Huffington Post. Suspected drug dealer chews off cop car seatbelt to attend son's birthday party.
What?
A Chicago man arrested on drug charges allegedly chewed off the seatbelt in a cop car because he didn't want to miss his son's birthday party, according to NBC Chicago. Spoiler alert, he didn't make it.
Oh my God.
Lashton Stuckey, 33, was arrested Monday afternoon after police say they saw him selling $30 worth of heroin on a street near the city's near west side. Police found several other bags of heroin in his possession. Stuckey was placed in a squad car and taken to a nearby station. During the brief drive, the suspect managed to chew through his seatbelt, causing several $100s worth of damage. Officers said Stuckey told him he didn't want to miss his son's birthday party, according to the Illinois Patch. As heartwarming as the excuse might sound, it didn't fly. Stuckey was charged with 2 counts of possession of a controlled substance and 1 count of criminal damage to property. Stuckey remains stuck in jail in lieu of $75,000 bail.
Jesus. First of all, how is it even humanly possible to chew through a seatbelt? Unless this person has pica or something, I would highly suggest getting that checked out. No, I have done. That is a thing. That is a thing, and it is a very...
I know. It's a thing, yeah.
Everything is a thing. Everything in the world is a thing. Anyway, I am way too hyper for this.
If he knew his son was having a birthday party that day, why did he go out and do something stupid to get himself arrested?
Because people are freaking dumb. That's the best excuse I have for everything. Are dumb. People do dumb things. Like attempting to chew through a seatbelt to go to your child's birthday party when you should not have had drugs on you to begin with.
Victoria, this is only the first story, and believe me, if you keep doing multiple one of these, you eventually get desensitized to them.
No, I have seen my fair share of stupid shit in life.
Yeah, well, our next story is going to be kind of a little bit of a breather before we get into more stupid. Failed McDonald's drive-thru marriage proposal ends with less than happy meal. Huffington Post, really? You're going with that?
Hold on, excuse me while I facepalm. First of all, why would you want to propose at McDonald's if, of all the places in the world? At least go to Burger King where you can get onions.
Yeah. What's the opposite of the Happy Meal? This McDonald's marriage proposal served between 2 buns, which ended in an unfortunate rejection. I'm loving it. Sorry, friend. No, she's not. Quotes the man, I met my girlfriend 2 years ago in L.A. I've never been good at planning in advance. No, really.
Hold on.
Which is why we wound up ending our first date at this exact McDonald's. Okay, so at least he had some kind of quasi-romantic reason.
Oh, the fucker squared.
Yeah, the man named Michael Joseph, from L.A., wrote in a description accompanying the video he uploaded of the failed proposal. She joked for months about how 10 years down the road I would probably propose to her in a chicken nugget box, so I thought she would love when I surprised her this way.
Okay, I like the chicken nugget box idea. That is kind of cute. I as a female who is not girly at all by any means, I actually like the chicken McNugget box idea. That is kind of cute.
Yeah, this one show that I watched called What the Fuck Is Wrong With You often says there's nothing sexy at the McDonald's. I would like to add a corollary to that. There is nothing romantic at a McDonald's. And this guy knows it because he later says in the story, when he was interviewed, it was a doofus move by me.
Well, unless you're like 500 pounds and you find McDonald's sexy. It's true! It's true.
And do you know that Pizza Hut has like this $10,000 proposal box that has like a pizza, breadsticks, and such, and a diamond engagement ring?
Aww, I would kill for a proposal like that. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, me being the pizza guy that I have, I would at least hold out for Papa John's.
Yes!
I mean, Pizza Hut's not terrible by all means, but I would at least hold out for Papa John's. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, you have very good taste, you know. Some of them are just gonna go for the Little Caesars.
Pizza, marriage.
That was beautiful. It's beautiful.
Despite the ham-bungled proposal, really? Apparently there's still a nugget of hope. Oh, come on. Now you're just stretching, Huffington Post. Come on.
These marriages are hot and ready.
The punniness. Oh, my God.
Seriously, though, there is a light at the end of this tunnel. While it was a stupid move and she thought it was a joke, they did agree to wait longer until it's time to get engaged, so at least she didn't drop this guy to the curb. Although, let's face it, he probably deserves it. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. You should have gotten dumped.
She really should have gotten dumped. I mean, unless she was like 500 pounds, which I doubt she was.
And, I realize I personally am not one for very grandiose gestures, but even then, I would know better than to do something like that.
Well, I mean, unless it was really like spur of the moment. And you're just like, hey, I want to marry this girl now. I'm going to go to McDonald's.
About the only time that would probably actually work is if you were in David's old hometown, blitzed out of your fucking mind.
God. Oh, God. Poor David. Let's hear how David feels about this. David, how does this make you feel? Best answer ever.
my little brother David with the gorilla from Glove and Boots impression there. Alright, this one actually comes courtesy of the AP, so thank God we will be spared any inordinate puns. Man already facing DUI charge allegedly drives drunk to police station. That, Alanis Morissette, is what you call irony. Uniontown, Pennsylvania. Police say a Pennsylvania man showed up drunk to be fingerprinted for a previous drunken driving charge and earned himself another one in the process. Online court records don't list an attorney for 41-year-old Kevin Kroll of Dunbar Township. He faces a preliminary hearing June 30th on charges of drunken driving and public drunkenness for the incident on February the 20th. That's when Uniontown police say Kroll walked in smelling of alcohol when he arrived to be fingerprinted for a January 9th drunken incident.
Oh my god.
The officer smelled alcohol and gave Kroll a breath test, and later a blood test, both of which showed he was legally intoxicated. Uniontown Lieutenant Tom Kolenik, that's probably also a Polish name, so I probably mispronounced that horribly, Kolenik?
Doesn't matter. Just say K.
I think.
Yeah. Says to come in intoxicated is disrespectful to the judicial system and disrespectful to the police. Way to put it mildly, sir.
Oh my god.
Oh god.
Human race baffles me.
The phrase "salt in the wound" is what comes to mind here. Only in this case, it's not someone else rubbing salt into the wound. It's himself thinking salt would work as an acceptable substitute for Neosporin.
Neosporin? Nah. Nah, bruh. That's the only thing I can say. Nah, bruh. Nah, bruh. What do you want?
Yeah, clearly somebody handed him a bottle of saline solution and he thought it was a bottle of peroxide. So...
Ew, peroxide burns!
Yeah, but this burns in a different way. Peroxide burns in a good way. Salt burns in a, oh dear fucking god, what am I doing kind of way.
AKA a bad way.
Seriously, the only way I can think that this guy may have rationalized this was he was thinking, well, I'm in trouble for drunk driving anyway. It's not like they're going to charge me twice, and clearly misunderstood the concept of double jeopardy. Sure, they can't charge you twice for the same charge, but they can charge you another time if you commit the same offense on a separate occasion.
The stupidity of people baffles me these days. What is wrong with me? What is wrong with society?
Oh, boy.
I say that every single day, Victoria.
Really? I never would have guessed.
A little bit of a melancholy story here. By way from CNN, by way of my local ABC affiliate, KOCO. Man sees moose, authorities blow it up.
Was this story done in Florida?
No.
What?
Montana.
I was just kidding.
Montana, the state that truly gives no fucks.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
A Montana camper saved a newborn moose only to have it blown up by park authorities together with its dead relatives. Josh Holm was camping at Gallatin National Forest late last month when he spotted the orphaned calf. The calf's mother had died after giving birth to twins, according to the Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Park Service. One of the twins lay dead alongside its mother. Holm found the calf that survived, took a few photos with it, and sought help. The camper called the sheriff, and they called us, and our warden set up to euthanize the animal, Montana FWP said. Since the calf never suckled on its mother to get the necessary nutrients, authorities said, it would not have survived even if they rehabilitated it. Wildlife officials said it was not an issue of cruelty, it was an issue of policy. Of course they would say that. So the moose was euthanized and then blown up together with the carcasses of its mother and a sibling, which I have to stop reading this story for a second to say, when is blowing up a corpse ever an acceptable form of disposal?
Preach!
When it's in Montana.
Preach!
Oh, okay.
I have a friend who used to live in Montana, They do this shit all the time.
Cremation, I can understand. You know, if especially in case of a disease, if you're wanting to, you know, make sure that it's disposed of properly so it doesn't spread disease, I can understand cremation. Not sticking a stick of dynamite in it, lighting the fuse, and running the fuck away.
Okay, on a scale of 1 to even, I can't. I am so serious.
Yeah, I get what they were trying. I get what they were trying to do. I get their line of thought here of trying to put this moose down humanely. I would not quantify blowing it the fuck up after euthanization as humane.
Not a humane way of disposing a dead moose's carcass.
Explosives are what you know, Crocodile Dundee uses to fish, not how you dispose of bodies. And showing my age a little bit there.
Just remember, there's older people in the world than you.
I know. But I'm the oldest person on this podcast right now, so.
Nothing wrong there.
Let's face it, in most internet circles, I am an old man.
No, and in most internet circles, I am a baby. Not, am I? Maybe? I don't know. Who's the youngest person in MLP?
Isn't there one guy that's like 16?
Dylan? Dylan,
Oh,
yeah.
No,
Dylan.
he's not.
Not Dylan. No?
No.
Dylan's 16. There are 2 Dylans in the group.
Oh, the other Dylan, right.
Dylan. Baby Dylan.
Could be, yeah.
Alright, our last story today is a rather short one, but it is guaranteed to make you say, what?
Oh, God.
This one comes to us from rural, that's a hard word to say, rural northeastern Germany. A group of...
Oh, this is going to be a good one.
A group of asparagus harvesters might have had some friendly japes with police after someone called and reported, quote, 10 to 15 people armed with knives and sticks. According to an Associated Press report, the workers were walking down the road with their tools to a lunch break when they were mistaken for a, quote, armed, unquote, mob.
What?
Yes. So
what?
You have these group of people who are there in Germany trying to make an honest day living, picking asparagus, and they're going off to lunch. They've got their asparagus knives in their hands, and they're just, you know, walking down the street expecting, okay, we're gonna go to the nearest place and get us like some good sauerkraut or bratwurst or something like that. I can make these jokes. I'm of German descent. And all of a sudden, the police comes up to them and goes... And I can actually imagine police coming up in like full riot gear with the riot shields and them just staring at the police like, what the heck is going on? And the police going, put down the knives!
Except they're saying it in German! Which I don't know any of!
Neither do I. Achtung!
Put
down the knives!
It's too much Wolfenstein.
Put down the knives!
What? Wait, what? I'm so confused. What am I missing?
You've obviously never played Wolfenstein.
No, I have not. Please don't kill me.
Really fun game. Just saying.
They have you surrounded. Put down the knives and the asparagus.
I don't know why, but I'm totally just picturing Patrick's face in my head right now. Poor Patrick. I'm sorry. I thought I was.
Might have him do that if we ever interview him.
No.
Save this. Save the story, Jeremy. Save the story.
Although it does say something about the relations between German police and civilians, where There are no reports of this breaking down into violence, as opposed to, say, if this happened in America, there would probably have been tear gas thrown.
And
probably without provocation.
And glass broken.
That's awful. That's awful. That is awful.
It would go down in history as the Asparagus riot.
Literally, Asparagus riot. That is so. Poor Patrick. Poor Patrick. Poor Patrick.
Although I can understand how they might have been mistaken for being armed. After all, they were carrying spears.
That is the worst pun I've ever possibly heard in my life. That is the worst.
I can get away with making puns of this stuff because I'm not the person trying to be all journalistic and writing this stuff. I'm just the person who makes fun of this shit.
Clearly, you're the person who makes fun of this shit.
All right, it's time to excoriate the imbecilic, or for those of you who don't speak Jeremy speak, it's time to make fun of some stupid people. David, give us the tweets.
Well, this one I'm not going to make fun of. I'm just going to...
Just quick.
Yeah. This first person, like I said, it's not really funny. It's kind of a fuck you to this person. I live for moments like this. His first sink bath. To the left is a picture of the smiling baby, and to the right is the picture of the baby pretty much being drowned with water from the sink. And I'm like, yeah, fuck you. All right, so that was my fuck you rant of the day. On to some funny ones.
Oh boy, this is
How
going to be good.
far of a drive is it from Miami to Florida?
Not that far. I know Miami might seem like a completely different world from the rest of Florida, but rest assured, there are some crazy people in Miami.
Miami is just kind of, yeah.
Hey, Kevin! Girls Gone Wild!
Party in the city when the crazy's on, all night on the beach till the break of dawn.
This next one, my Olympic condoms have finally arrived. Think I wear gold tonight. With the response, maybe you can wear silver instead and come second for a change.
In the immortal words of Blaine, ha! You better have burn heel.
Yeah.
I am saving that, and I think I'm going to send that to my boyfriend. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. He's never... Carry on.
And
okay.
finally...
Oh, boy, here we go.
Here's a picture of some fireworks here. This is still my favorite ever family photo. My mom did the O. We told her we were going to write love. And the fireworks sparks instead write cock. Yep.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, that's it for dumb tweets.
Thank you, Victoria, for joining us for this silliness.
It was a pleasure, as always. I hope to be back for the next one. Maybe I can find some of my own to rant about.
All right. We would like to remind all of you out there who are listening to this, for one thing, this is the last week for our subscriber giveaway, so make sure you go follow our YouTube page, subscribe to our YouTube page, and all that wonderful thing. Also, there are multiple different ways that you can get a hold of us and tell us what you like about the show, tell us what you don't like. Please be nice, otherwise we will not be nice to you.
We'll take phone numbers. I will take phone numbers. Or text messages. Or tweets. Or Instagrams. Or whatever.
CasualModePodcast.com, one site, everything in there. Facebook.com/CasualModePodcast. We also have Twitter. I am at ZeroSageHarpoya.
I'm at Shadowbird712.
And yes, I am using my Twitter now.
I am at Victoria101290.
I will add that on, actually.
Please do. Please do.
Okay. We also are on SoundCloud, on the FNX network at fnx.network. We are also on iTunes, Instagram, and yes, I have a personal Pinterest account. And of course, check us out by subscribing to us on YouTube with that giant-ass link that we have below. And that's it.
All right.
Until next time.
This has been
Until
Casual. Yeah, this has been Casual Mode. I'm Jeremy.
I'm David.
And I'm Victoria.
Until
Bye,
next
everyone.
time, later, y'all.